Welcome, everybody. This is the live stream. I am your host, KevinlyFather, Kevin Williams. I left this morning. I did the Spilling Covfefe. We'll do a little informal chat session in the morning if you want to join us sometimes. And I had to take Kevinly daughter to work. So I took her to work, and while I was driving her to work, the world exploded. President Trump is on tape admitting that he downplayed the virus. President Trump is on tape admitting that in January he knew the virus was airborne. President Trump is on tape admitting that he knew in March that the virus affected plenty of young people. Plenty of young people. He's on tape saying that he lied repeatedly to the American people. So Bob Woodward has a new book coming out. Bob, along with Carl Bernstein, are the reporters that broke open Watergate. Working for the Washington Post back in the 70s, they took down a presidency. You might have heard of Deep Throat. That was their source, their unnamed source until 40 years later, that had information that took Nixon down. It was all revealed in the Washington Post. That was Bob Woodward. Why didn't he reveal this sooner? Because he's coming out with a book. This is how this works. And, so Trump agreed to be interviewed 18 times by Bob Woodward. Bob Woodward had previously published a book on President Trump, for which Trump did not agree to be interviewed. And it was not unflattering. And because Trump is one of the world's biggest narcissists, he figured, hey, I'll talk to him this time, and that way I can make my case, and everything will come out rosy. Speaking of rosy, I did listen to this I don't even know what to call it, propaganda session with Kayleigh McEnany. And she's going to tell you that you didn't hear what you just heard. So here's what I'll do. I'll play the two excerpts from CNN from Woodward's recordings of President Trump talking, congratulations, David Mickelson, on being first. And then we'll decide, do we want to listen to the press conference first and then Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's putting on a press conference, I believe, right now? Or do we want to listen to Joe Biden's press conference first and then go back to Kayleigh McEnany? I'll let you guys decide that as we're listening. So in the chat room, you guys get the choice because you're paying for this because now YouTube demonetized me. This is the life of a YouTuber. So let me just play the clips for you in case you haven't heard them yet. And now my computer's not cooperating, so maybe I won't play the clips for you. Ha ha, nana boo boo. I can do it another way. Let me go another direction here. I think I can do it from here. This is the first clip, February 7th. Trump talking to Bernstein. Let me make sure that your audio is on for listening to this. It should be. If you can't hear it, please alert me right away in the chat. We'll talk about YouTube later, not important right now.
Oh, what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape. But it's a very tricky situation.
Indeed,
it goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. The touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. People don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that,
Trump
right?
didn't realize that.
It's pretty amazing. And then I say, well, is that the same thing? This is more deadly. This is 5 per, this is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. So this is deadly stuff.
Okay, so here is the secondary tape. So far, I've heard two different tapes. This is the tape from the middle of March 18th-ish, I believe. There'll probably be a notation of it on here. That tape was February 7th, the day after he talked to President Xi. Remember, back then, he was praising President Xi. We have the tweet here. Here it is. Here's the tweet. from President Trump. I'll bring that up to the front so you guys can read it too. Give me one moment, please. This is all flying by the seat of my pants right now. So this is from the 24th of January, just a few days before that recording was made. China has been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. The United States greatly appreciates their effort and transparency. It will all work out well. In particular, on behalf of the American people, I want to thank President Xi. Because, friends. It's all about relationships with Trump. So that was around that time. Then on the 31st, he didn't ban travel from China. Just some foreign nationals from some areas of China, not all of China. And 40,000 or 400,000 people flooded into the United States. Nobody was tested. Nobody was quarantined. Officials lost track of everybody. Some people had their temperatures taken, but otherwise the virus just flooded in from China and from Europe. More importantly, the virus had already gone to Europe and was coming into New York from Europe, and that's why New York and Jersey and Connecticut got just hammered in April. Let's go to the second recording. This is Trump talking to Woodward on or about March 18th. We'll find out here in a second.
Turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older
exactly.
young people, to plenty of young people.
So
what's going on
give me a moment of talking to somebody, going through this with Fauci or somebody who kind of it caused a pivot in your mind, because it's clear just from what's on the public record that
this was round about the time. This is March 19th, by the way. You can see the postmark there. Just calling it a postmark. Timestamp, whatever. This was about the time that Trump suddenly pivoted and started taking the virus more seriously, and was asked that in the press conferences, and it was like, no, I've always taken the virus seriously. And I can show you guys tape, but you've all seen it, about him saying we're not worried about it. It's all going to go away. It's one person coming in from China. We've got it contained. Kellyanne Conway saying it was contained.
You went through a pivot on this to, oh my God, the gravity is almost inexplicable and unexplainable.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down. This is in March, him admitting that he played down the virus to the American public. And then he says the stupid part out loud. He tells us why.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
Admits not only that he was downplaying it, that he was lying, that he was hiding things from the American public, but also why. He gave us a reason. He didn't want to cause a panic. Didn't want to cause a panic in the stock market, which happened anyway. Didn't want to cause a panic in the labor market, which happened anyway. Why? Because as Dr. Fauci, on the record in the book, explains that he has the attention span in minus numbers. That's what Fauci said, in minus numbers. I'm paraphrasing. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. It's hard to mistake, though. In minus numbers, and all he cares about is re-election. That's from Dr. Fauci. Our Dr. Fauci. That Dr. Fauci. Okay, let me check here. See if you guys want macaroni or Biden first. We'll talk about YouTube later. Will this really change votes? Will Dems actually do anything? I think this could decide it. Yeah, this could be the pivot of the election. If I've told you guys before, hey, welcome, by the way. If you're watching for the first time, that's a chat window over there. You can chat via Twitter, Facebook. Sometimes Facebook works, sometimes it doesn't. If you're on Facebook, say hi. Just in the comments section. Facebook chat doesn't really function well. If you really want to chat, go to youtube.com/KevinlyFather. You can see over there anybody with a blue mark besides them with a circle in the middle or a fire thing in the middle. Those people are on Twitter or Periscope. And then the red people, they're big Trump fans. That's their mega symbol with a little forward arrow. Trump is leading us forward. So Stephanie, Chris, big, huge Trump fans. Actually, they're on YouTube, and I'm almost out of this. So I'm going to refill on bleach. CDC has not said that COVID-19 is a bullshit story. Wow, right away. I love. Yesterday we had a bleacher in here, and his name was Trump. No, Weed Man. No, that's not what it says. Not what the CDC. The CDC said that 6% of COVID deaths. I'll try and explain this for you very slowly so you understand. 6% of COVID deaths are persons without comorbidity. For example, anybody who's died from COVID usually has a comorbidity, be that obesity, be that asthma, be that a heart condition, be that diabetes. So if you have one of those other diseases, you're more likely for COVID to kill you, okay? What the CDC said is not that only 6% of the people died from COVID-19. It's saying that 6% of the people, so about 12,000 people now, had no underlying comorbidity. Nothing wrong with them. Perfectly healthy people. So COVID has killed 6% of the people that had no reason to die other than COVID-19. COVID-19 has killed 175 to 200,000 people that also had other conditions. For example, if I caught COVID-19, I'm perfectly healthy. I'm in great shape. I exercise. I play tennis. Before the virus, I played hockey multiple times a week. For an almost 50-year-old, I'm in fantastic shape. But I have a genetic heart condition. That would count as a comorbidity. I've had 2 heart attacks, and I'm 51. We all say I'm almost 50. I'm going to be almost 50 forever. I have asthma. I had it since childhood. It rarely affects me, but that would be a comorbidity. I'm a few pounds overweight. I'm guessing most of the people here are too. We have an obesity problem in the United States. All of those would be comorbidities. So what the 6% says, Weed Man, is that 11,500, I'm going to use your number, 11,500 were killed with no other health conditions. That's how dangerous this thing is. Wiped out 11,500 Americans with no underlying conditions. I have an underlying condition. Guys in the chat room, if you could just raise your hand or just say, I have an underlying condition if you have one, just to give you a scope of how many people. No, Weed Man, it's actually far worse than it's made out to be because it's not only death, it's a lot of other conditions. Okay, so we've learned now that many of the athletes that want to play college football, they can't because now their hearts are enlarged, and we're not really sure what that's going to do to them. So they're sidelined. One of the pitchers for the New York Yankees now has a heart condition because he caught COVID. He had a condition. Yep, there we go. See all these people with underlying conditions. Hi, AJ. Good to see you. I'm glad you're still here. This is how it works. So the CDC said, and this is really getting us off on a sidetrack. The CDC said almost 12,000 people have died, probably more because we haven't counted all the deaths yet. And back at the beginning, we weren't even testing. That's the CDC's fault, Trump's CDC. That those people had no other reason to die. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to get going with the press conference. I'm going to disappear for a second, get myself something more to drink because I'm already losing my voice. And we'll come back.
Hello, everyone. Today, President Trump was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of his work in brokering an Israel-United Arab Emirates peace deal. It was a historic deal and the first such deal in over 2 decades. This is a hard-earned and well-deserved honor for this president. President Trump's foreign policy will always be one of peace through strength, and that is what the American people are seeing abroad. Career politicians merely talk about the kind of results this president has achieved on the world stage. End endless wars, we hear that often. Not too often do we see it actually done. Today, the president and the Pentagon, the Department of Defense are announcing a drawdown of troops in Iraq, just announced from 5,200 to 3,000. We are getting our allies to pay their fair share. Now 9 NATO countries are meeting their 2% spending obligations. We've secured better trade deals for the American worker. President Trump negotiated the USMCA, the U.S.-South Korea deal, ended the Trans-Pacific Partnership, brought back manufacturing jobs. President Trump has stood up to China. The Phase 1 China deal, also tariffs to hold China accountable, and actions to block Huawei. President Trump's also defeated terrorists. The ISIS caliphate is destroyed.
Sorry, guys, she was way too loud to begin with. Again, I don't control the volume on C-SPAN. I should have checked that before. It has been a runaround to get this to work. So let's get back to it. Sorry, my apologies. If the volume is way off here, let me know.
Daddy is no longer on the battlefield, along with Iranian General Soleimani. In addition to these priorities, President Trump has made peace a cornerstone of his recent foreign policy efforts. The peace deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates led to the first flight from Israel over Saudi Arabia's airspace to the United Arab Emirates. The signing ceremony for this historic deal will be September 15th at the White House. President Trump has also brokered economic normalization between Serbia and Kosovo, a major breakthrough in this decades-old conflict. It's a fact. President Trump has broken the 39-year-old streak of American presidents either starting a war or bringing the United States into an international armed conflict as a...
So Syria never happened. Iran never happened. Remember, we killed Soleimani and Iran attacked us with missiles and injured a bunch of our soldiers with traumatic head injuries. Just never happened. Didn't happen. You did. It's a 39-year record broken. Those things just don't exist.
Great Washington Examiner piece headline read. These wins are possible because of the president's leadership and outsider perspective. President Trump addresses old challenges with new solutions and delivers results for the American people. And with that, I'll take questions.
Yeah, she gets to questions pretty quickly here. I did listen to this guy, so I'm going to cheat. I'm going to sound like I'm a genius, but anyway. They were bad headaches. They weren't head injuries. You're absolutely right, David. The president's already addressed this. I sit corrected.
Paula.
Kayleigh, thank you. I'd like to ask you about the Woodward interviews. Did President Trump intentionally mislead the American people about the threat of COVID, a pandemic that has now cost...
That might be Paula with CBS.
...the lives of nearly 200,000 Americans?
I'm sorry. You know what? I don't want to get that wrong. Is this...
Woodward interviews.
His old challenges with new solutions.
I want to see if Kayleigh says who it is.
And delivers results for the American people. And with that, I'll take questions. Paula.
Paula, yeah. So that's Paula with CBS.
Ask you about the Woodward interviews.
By the way, just objectively, we love her. We all love her. She's awesome.
Oh,
crap. I'm sorry. One moment, please.
Leadership and outsider perspective.
Has now cost the lives of nearly 200,000 Americans.
I'll go back.
Interviews.
Okay.
Did President Trump intentionally mislead the American people about the threat of COVID, a pandemic?
That's correct. President Trump has been nominated for a Nobel Prize. He's been nominated for one before. There are something like 283 nominees every year. Yeah.
Pandemic that has now cost the lives of nearly 200,000 Americans.
Absolutely not. This president, at a time when you're facing insurmountable challenges, it's important to...
Are they insurmountable? I mean, isn't the whole point that we're going to get over them? That's not really the word she wanted to use there, I don't think.
Express confidence. It's important to...
So it's important to express confidence when you're facing insurmountable odds. If they're insurmountable, you're done. That's...
Express calm.
Always play it down. Is playing it down, is that expressing calm? It seems dishonest. It seems
Can you read the rest of the quote?
That's how much they put in there.
Oh, you excluded the last part.
We'll play the full thing on 60
please,
Minutes
please
on
do.
Sunday. Do you deny
please
that
do
you
explain.
misled the American
Please,
people
of
about
course
the
I
threat of
deny
this
that.
pandemic?
And he makes clear that he doesn't want to see chaos, by the way, is the second part of the quote, which you failed to read. The president just...
No, he downplayed the virus. We just listened to it. He downplayed the virus in order to not cause a panic.
Days
C-SPAN pausing.
after having this discussion with Bob Woodward, said this from this podium. On March 30th, he said, I do want them to stay calm. We are doing a great job. If you look at the individual statements, they're all true. Stay calm. It will go away, but it's important to stay calm. So this...
And so he lied. He downplayed the virus to get everyone to stay calm. That's irrefutable. He says it. Does anybody want to hear it again? Did anybody miss it? If you're out there and you're watching, this is the live stream. We chat truth to power. Join us, please. And if you want to just watch without chatting, that's fine too.
President does what leaders do. good leaders. It's stay calm and resolute at a time
And hide the truth from the people.
when you face an insurmountable challenge. That's what this president has
It will
done.
not appear that the president lied to the American public about the threat posed by COVID.
The president has never lied to the American public on COVID. The president was expressing calm, and his actions reflect that.
That's C-SPAN pausing it, not me.
January 6th, the CDC issued a Wuhan travel notice before any confirmed U.S. cases, among a number of other actions.
Sniffle asks, can you let her finish before adding your own input? That's just not how it works. Sorry. You can watch her on C-SPAN. You can pull this up at c-span-.org or whatever it is. But she's all over the place. You can watch it yourself if you want to. But if I let her go through a whole spiel, I will miss some of the parts that she should be corrected on.
Actions. And I'd refer you to Dr. Fauci, who said that this president has an impressive response. I can't imagine under any circumstance that anyone could be doing anything more. That is the record of this president.
No, that was not what Dr. Fauci said. He was talking about the team, including himself, that couldn't have done anything more. I have that audio as well. Actually, video from Mark Levin. Life, Levin, Pursuit of Happiness, or whatever it is. Dr. Fauci never said that about Trump.
John.
Kayleigh, but how do you square the president's word?
Let's interrupt that. I'll pull that up. I have that here, and I can get that. I should be able to get that pretty. Yeah, here's Dr. Fauci on Levin talking about, and pay attention here because it's the team that he's talking about, including himself, not Trump. Maybe.
You ever seen this big of a coordinated response by an administration to such a threat, a health threat?
Well, we've never had a threat like this, and the coordinated response has been, there are a number of adjectives to describe it. Impressive, I think, is one of them. I mean, we're talking about all hands on deck. Is that I, as one of many people on a team, I'm not the only person, since the beginning that we even recognized what this was, I have been devoting almost full time on this, almost full time. I'm down at the White House virtually every day with the task force. I'm connected by phone throughout the day and into the night. When I say night, I'm talking 12, 1, 2 in the morning.
Sniffle, if you're still here, I know there's a delay here, so you're probably not going to see this, but everyone is welcome. But that is what we do. We will interrupt the show that is the show, quite frankly. But yeah, there are other sources if you don't want the fact-checking or the jokes. I try and do one joke per hour, so that's why YouTube is not monetizing me anymore. Not enough jokes per hour. Anyway, so that's enough of the Fauci here. Basically, he was talking about the team. He wasn't complimenting Trump. So it was the administration's response, and that includes the NIH, it includes the CDC, it includes Dr. Fauci. He talks about being up till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning both nights, talking with the president, but he doesn't say the president himself could not have done more. It's nonsense. It never happens.
To Woodward when he said, this is a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than even your strenuous flu. This is deadly stuff. And then just 2 weeks after he told Woodward that, he said, this is a flu.
C-SPAN, not me.
This is like a flu.
For those of you who don't know, that C-SPAN, when you're watching a replay on C-SPAN, it will often pause. If it gets too annoying, we'll go find another source. But right now, let's stay with C-SPAN.
And of course, he also said it was going to quickly go to zero. But that seems to be in direct contradiction to what he told Woodward.
Well, the president was listening to his medical experts because you also have at the same time period Dr. Fauci, who said this.
Yeah, it was an impressive response by the administration. But he wasn't talking about Trump directly. It was the Trump administration, an impressive response. But again, this is about Trump lying to the American people, downplaying the virus, which is what he said on tape.
Asked if the seasonal flu was a bigger concern. He said this on February 17th. So right now at the same time, people are worrying about going to a Chinese restaurant. The threat is that we have in this country, we're having a pretty bad influenza season.
Yes, Fauci did say that.
Particularly dangerous for our children. So he was reflecting that point. And again, days later, in a briefing, he said, the statements I made are this: I want to keep the country calm. That is what leaders do, and that's what President Trump does.
But in that statement, Fauci's not comparing the two. He's not saying coronavirus is like a flu.
It was a COVID interview, and he was asked about seasonal flu vis-a-vis COVID, saying exactly what the president said. And in fact...
No, not vis-a-vis COVID. That's not how that went. I have that somewhere, too. We're not going to look it up right now. But every time Fauci said it's not something the American public has to be too worried about right now, every single time I ever saw him interviewed about that, he always said that could change very quickly and very dramatically. No, she's lying. He said that about Trump. He didn't say that about Trump. He said that about the team, about the administration's response as a whole, not about Trump. She said Trump.
The president was taking it more seriously because on the tape he noted that flu could be worse, and he was taking action to address it. Once again...
by the way, Dougie, you might have missed this, but earlier Fauci, as I quoted, and I'm paraphrasing here, but you can check it out. In fact, I'll find it. Hold on. Give me just 1 second. I'm sure it's all over the place. I want to put it in his words. Okay, here it is. This is from Newsweek. This is from the Bob Woodward upcoming book. And Fauci says, give it a second to load. Okay, come on. All right, we'll get back to that. But now it's cooperating with me. Here it is. This is Fauci's quote on the president, on the record, in the book from Bob Woodward coming up here, Dougie. Donald Trump's attention span is like a minus number. So that's bad. Okay. His sole purpose is to get reelected. Everything he does here, downplaying the virus, trying to protect jobs and the economy and all that, and letting Americans die, it's so that he will get reelected. And why? Because once he's out of office, he can be charged. He's already unindicted.
Again, context matters. That 0 reported COVID cases. The CDC was implementing public health screenings.
Go ahead.
House Dems were preparing to file their first briefs in impeachment. 1 reported case, CDC, when there was 1 reported case, the CDC was activating an emergency operation.
No, they were already in the Senate trial by February, so that's just inaccurate. And impeachment and coronavirus, 2 different things.
Center while Pelosi was releasing a statement criticizing McConnell over impeachment. On January 31st, the president issued a travel ban on China.
No, he didn't. There was no travel ban.
One that the former vice president called xenophobic. That's what...
No, he called Trump saying China virus xenophobic. In fact, when he said that, he didn't even know about the travel ban that never happened. He was on stage while the travel ban was being announced. No, it's not a subjective opinion. I mean, I just played it for you.
What Democrats were doing while this president was acting, and his actions reflect the seriousness with which he took COVID-19. Yes,
Kayleigh,
Jeff.
You quoted Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci is also...
Again, she just lied. There was no travel ban. People were still allowed to come in from China, Hong Kong, Macau, Americans coming back, 40,000 in the first month, over 400,000 over time. No flights were stopped by the president, not a single one. You can go look that up in case you doubt this. Just look up White House Proclamation China, and you will find the proclamation. And in it, there are 11 separate loopholes. And we didn't test people. We know that because the CDC keeps testing figures. Throughout February, we didn't test the people coming back in from China. There are flight records that show that 40,000 people came in from China. There are testing records with the CDC that show that we only tested 5,000 people. Even if we tested everyone who came back on those flights, we still didn't test everybody who came back on those. It's just 5,000 and 40,000. I don't know if I can create a graph for you, but just imagine in your head. 5,000, more than 5,000. See? That's that gap in your head. That's the people that spread the virus from China.
Apparently on the record saying of President Trump that his attention span is like a minus number and his sole
Okay, maybe we need to go to another source for this.
Is to get reelected. That's according to veteran journalist Bob Woodward.
Yeah, so that's Dr. Fauci quote.
I think the bottom line here is that the president, by his own admission in private on the record, acknowledged the depth of this crisis and yet told the American people something very different. How is that, at its core, not an abject betrayal of the public trust?
The president has always
Good
been
question.
clear-eyed with the American people. He was always clear-eyed about the
Clear-eyed.
lives we could lose. Again, from this podium, he acknowledged that this was serious back in March, that 100,000, 200,000 lives could be lost. And with regard to Dr. Fauci, you're referring to...
I can play that quote too. He says if we lose up to 200,000, then we've done a pretty good job. We're going to pass 200,000. And at that point, will we be asking, are we no longer doing a pretty good job?
A quote he allegedly told Bob Woodward, and I can give you quotes that we can all play on loop and video of him saying that this response was impressive, and he can't imagine anyone under any circumstance doing anything better. Dr. Fauci saying this, I can just tell you the president, the first and only time I went and said, you need to do mitigation strongly, the response was, yes, we will do it. The second time I went with Dr. Birx to the president and said 15 days to slow the spread are not enough, we need to go to 30 days. Obviously, there were a lot of people who had problems with that because of potential secondary effects. Nonetheless, the president went with the health recommendations. So there's a long litany of praise from Dr. Fauci, and your reference.
I don't know how that's praise, except saying, yeah, we told him to do it and he did it. Yeah, but he was also not admitting to the American people what he knew about the dangers of the virus. That's the whole point.
Something he allegedly told Bob.
Boy, this is... are you guys okay with this constant pausing? Not me pausing it, but the constant pauses from C-SPAN. We can go find another. In fact, we're just going to do it. Stay with me here, kids. Talk amongst yourselves in the chat, and we'll be back before we know it here. So let's see. Let's close that. Let's make this go away. Here we go. We'll bring it up on the Fox News. See if I can figure out where, right about here.
We can take it seriously with our actions, which is exactly what this president does. It's why we lead the world in testing, doing far more.
We're behind.
Mario.
Thank you, Kayleigh. How can a president bear no responsibility for the 200?
Did we hear this already? Sorry, guys. I've listened to this already on my way home, so I don't know.
To hold similar outdoor rallies.
Oh no, we're way ahead. Let's go back.
End of the year, or should we get it even 3 years, which was the time? We'll do it. The second time I went with Dr. Birx to the president and said 15 days to slow the spread are not enough. We need to go to 30 days. Obviously, there were a lot of people who had problems with that because of potential secondary effects. Nonetheless, the president went with the health recommendations. So there's a long litany of praise from Dr. Fauci, and you're referencing something he allegedly told Bob Woodward.
It's on tape. It's on tape, Kayleigh.
Well, I'm reading to you what Dr. Fauci has said very publicly for all to see, and we can all play those video clips. I can get them in your inbox. Yes.
On February 7th.
Again, it's on tape, him saying that he downplayed the virus. For those of you just joining us, hold on, we'll play that again, just in case there is some doubt that that's actually the case. Downplayed the virus. Here it is.
It's not just old people, Bob, but just
Up
today.
here.
And I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
Yeah, admits that he downplayed the virus because he didn't want to create a panic. Lied to the American people about what he knew.
Says it's deadly stuff about coronavirus. In private, on the record. In public, though, February 28th, he says, one day, it's like a miracle, it will disappear.
Well,
it's one thing to, as a public figure, not to try to incite panic. It's a very different thing, respectfully, to lie and mislead the American people about a crisis that has claimed nearly 200,000 American lives.
No one is lying to the American people. One day COVID will go away. I think we can all hope for that day. We will have a vaccine because of this president tearing through bureaucracy.
Actually, we don't know if we'll ever have a vaccine. We hope so, but there may never be a vaccine for this. There's no vaccine for the common cold. By the way, estimates are about 25% of what we call the common cold is caused by coronaviruses. So we don't have any coronavirus vaccines that I know of to this point in time. But we're just like, well, we're going to make one.
Get a safe and
She reminds me of the Beverly Hillbillies. Remember the one where Granny has a cure for the common cold? It's a great episode.
effective vaccine. One day it will go away. That is a fact. It is not inciting fear. This president has expressed calmness from this podium, mobilized the greatest...
It's not a fact that one day the coronavirus will go away. We hope it does. We really, really do. But the cold has never gone away.
Mobilization of the private sector since World War II got more tests than any country in the world.
Thanks, Leslie. I'll just call you Colorado. Yeah, no, Leslie. Yeah, you're Leslie. I'll make him go away if I can. Oh, you know what I can do is I can make him go away from here. No, he's gone. Okay. Come on. Go ahead, Kayleigh.
On COVID, a vaccine, which, by the way, it'll be a record for a novel pathogen. The timing of this vaccine, should we get it by the end of the year, or should we get it even 3 years, which was the timing of Ebola? This president has done an unprecedented job dealing with COVID, one that Dr. Fauci even acknowledged. And like I said, I will get you that clip to your inbox. Yes.
Kayleigh, you mentioned...
I tried to sign up to be on the White House press list. They won't let me.
A few minutes ago that this was an insurmountable problem. I think that's quite a point of dispute. If you look around the world, the United States leads the world in confirmed cases, in deaths from COVID-19.
Yep.
So doesn't the president have their responsibility for that record as well as the testing and the vaccine development that you're just talking about?
No, when you've looked at the rest of the world, in particular the case fatality rate in the United States is about 3%. The world is 3.3%, the UK 11.9%, France 8.8%, Belgium 11.2%, and you can go through the various Western world countries that have dealt with COVID, and we've done a very good job. The case fatality rate notes that, and that's a testament to our therapeutics that the president has navigated.
The U.S. is still
the case fatality rate is the metric that shows how well our response has done with therapeutics, and we are leading the world in having the lowest case fatality rate. It's a very important metric and one that's a testament.
That's not true at all. I was just putting up the case fatality rate there for you, and I'm going to put it up here again. The case fatality rate is a terrible metric for looking at how well you've done with something. And look at this. This is the Our World in Data site. This is the site they always like to use. Sorry that it's not super great on your screen, but I think I might be able to change that. There we go. Yeah, and I can move this around. Look at this. Oh, I'm so happy. Okay, it worked. Hey, something worked, guys. For those of you who can't see me, my hands are up. I'm celebrating. Hold on. That's me. Back to the other screen. So here's the case fatality rate right here. The case fatality rate is the ratio between confirmed deaths and confirmed is during an outbreak of a pandemic. The case fatality rate is a poor measure of the mortality risk of the disease. So here's the site with the information, Our World in Data, which again is the site they like to use. It is a poor measure of the mortality risk of the disease. But they like to quote it, saying like we're so much better than England, for example. Yeah, it has a lot to do with testing, etc. Here's the deal. Let me come back to this screen and I'll move it. She just said we lead the world. Here we are, United States. And I just grabbed some countries and put them on there. Australia, lower. Greece, lower. New Zealand, lower. South Korea, lower. Saudi Arabia, lower. Israel, way lower. We do not lead the world in case fatality. Wait, that's just pure, unobjective nonsense. But that's what we get from this administration. All right, well, let's see if I can fix that. It worked. We're back. And again, in case someone's trying to pick apart those words, let's go back 15 seconds. Let's hear what she says.
That the president has navigated.
The U.S. is still
the case fatality rate is the metric that shows how well our response has done with therapeutics, and we are leading the world in having the lowest case fatality rate. It's a very important.
No, we're not. I just showed you. Australia, Greece, New Zealand, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Israel. Those are just the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 countries that I chose. I happen to know they're doing quite well with the virus, but there are many, many other countries. So in terms of leading the world, bold-faced lie. Just absolute nonsense.
Important metric and one that's a testament once again.
Again, not an important metric. Right on the site, it says, hey, this is not a good metric during a pandemic because we don't know how widespread it is. Post-pandemic, when you can actually measure antibodies, etc., and see how many people had it, then you'll find an actual a CFR that makes sense.
To a president who ripped through barriers, getting us from Desivir, convalescent plasma, and other very good working therapeutics.
You mentioned the president is very focused on the response there. Then why did the president have thousands of people, many not wearing masks at a rally last night in a state that has limited outdoor gatherings to 50 people? Why is he going to
Valid question.
This weekend to hold similar outdoor rallies, gathering these large numbers of people in violation of his administration's own guidance and of the best advice and guidance of local officials who he has said should have the final say in these matters.
Kim, you've come to the right place. We got lots of Kayleigh lies today. Somebody later in the press conference says that the Nevada canceled the Trump rallies this weekend. Can somebody verify that for me, please?
People have a First Amendment right, if they so choose, to show up and express their political opinion in the form of a peaceful protest, which is what the president held. And there's a real double standard here. CNN had on a guest, apparently a doctor, Rob Davidson, who said, now, true, there are social distancing issues with regard to the protests we've seen around the country. However, this is a public health crisis. They are marching against systemic racism. So if you're allowed to march in aggregate in those protests, you're also allowed to show up at a political rally. You have a First Amendment right in this country.
I'm not sure what the Trump rallies are protesting against, but they're calling them peaceful protests.
Mario.
Thank you, Kayleigh. How can the president bear no responsibility for the almost 200,000 lives lost when he downplayed the virus initially and he knew how contagious and deadly it was? I don't understand how that can...
The president never downplayed the virus. Once again, the president expressed calm. The president...
Hold on. At this point, you guys have probably seen most of these already, but yeah, the president definitely downplayed the virus. Let's pull something up here. Let's do this one. Let's do not that one. What was it? Coming in from China. Coming in. Nope, not that one. Give me a second here, folks. Sorry, I wasn't prepped with this one. Well, what is I'm looking for the phrase that he used with Hannity. I'll find it. Let's go back to Kayleigh.
Was serious about this when Democrats were pursuing their sham impeachment. He was expressing calm and he was taking early action, and his actions are reflective of how seriously he took COVID.
The tact that he took, the language that he used?
No.
You said that he used hopeful language. Does he regret that, given where we are now?
No, this president embodied the American spirit that when we face a challenge, a crisis, a pandemic, we come together. We can be optimistic. We can be serious about it. We can take it seriously with our actions, which is exactly what this president does. It's why we lead the world in testing, doing far more than the number 2, which is India.
Not true. China's number 1. Hold on. I'll pull up the figures right now. I think I have them. I do. Here are the testing figures. China, 160 million tests. So China's number 1. India is third. We've done about, 37 more million tests than India. But China is way out in front of everybody. And you can say, I don't trust the Chinese figures. But we know that they tested the entire 13 million population in the Wuhan area over the course of a week. And Western journalists there have interviewed massive amounts of people and just said, did you get a test? And everybody said, yeah, I got a test. So there's no reason to doubt that China has done millions upon millions upon millions. They may be lying about their death numbers. We don't know. There's no way to know that. But we do know that they're testing way more than anybody. Meantime, when was the last time you got a test? Remember, the CDC just changed their guidelines so that asymptomatic people who've had contact with COVID victims don't have to get a test.
Took this seriously, but he still expressed calm. Our food supply chains were at risk, that we could not have mass runs on grocery stores. The markets, also the economy.
No, not like how Obama said, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. By the way, I kept my doctor. I got health care and I was able to keep everything. The insurance companies canceled the plans under Obamacare. But that's an entirely different subject. We're specifically talking about Trump right now. And Dougie, if it makes you feel better, I am never voting for Obama again. There. Now, can we try and stay on task? Take your meds. I'll give you a hit. I'll tell you a secret, Dougie. I didn't vote for Hillary. I'm not a Democrat. I've never voted for a Clinton. I just don't like being lied to. And all I'm doing here is trying to open your eyes and show you that you are being lied to directly in your face, and it's endangering your life and the life of the people that you care about. If you're a Trump supporter, you probably don't care about other people, but I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. Just watch and listen and learn. This isn't about Obama. This isn't about Nixon. This isn't about anybody else we're talking about here today. This is about the man in power right now who's asking for your vote, who downplayed a pandemic that's killed 200,000 of your fellow citizens. That's what this is about. So take your meds and stay on task.
Economy was in play here. We didn't want there to be a huge crash and panic. He expressed calmness from this podium, but he has always taken it seriously, and the response, an unprecedented response, really reflects that.
No, we didn't want there to be a huge crash in the stock market.
Kayleigh, I wanted to ask you about the AstraZeneca trial. So does that throw a spanner in the works that they've halted those trials in terms of getting a vaccine?
All right.
Oh.
That was a press secretary at the White House lying. She said the president...
We tried. There's more questions here. We'll find the questions. That's the CNN feed. I bet you Fox stayed with it through the entire time. It was probably during Outnumbered. Let's find it.
Pandemic. We shouldn't engage in fear-mongering. This is going on.
They've halted those trials.
God damn it, I'm good. Let's go back just a few seconds on this because I want to...
Has always taken it seriously, and the response, an unprecedented response, really reflects that. Yes.
Thanks, Kayleigh. I wanted to ask you about the AstraZeneca trial. So does that throw a spanner in the works that they've halted those trials?
So the expression in America is, does that throw a wrench into the system or a wrench into the works? She says spanner because AstraZeneca is British trials. So I just love that. I don't know who this is, but I love her.
In terms of getting a vaccine quickly, and then I have a follow-up.
Yeah, so the AstraZeneca paused their
the British call wrenches spanners. That's in case you don't know.
Trials. Phase 3 clinical trial was a routine response when you see an adverse effect, and it was one that shows that the science is guiding the way here. And when there was an adverse response that was identified in one individual, AstraZeneca chose to pause that Phase 3 clinical trial. There are still 2 American vaccines in Phase 3 clinical trials showing great promise, but AstraZeneca, what is happening there is showing that the science is guiding the way on a vaccine, which is what Dr. Fauci, others like Alex Azar and the president have said all along.
So you're still confident that you'll see a vaccine sort of before the end of the year?
By the end of the year is the goal, yes.
And has that slipped, though, because there was some discussion about seeing something around the time of the election, so do you think it delays that?
Our timing is not about the election. It is about saving lives, and by the end of the year has always been our goal. But, of course, a safe and effective vaccine, we will take it as quickly as we can get it.
Can I ask you about China, too? So the Customs and Border Protection was supposed to be announcing, or said that they would announce, a ban on imports of many products from Xinjiang province in China as a result of the human rights abuses there against the Uyghurs. That announcement hasn't come formally. It was supposed to be announced here at the White House.
Yeah, that was supposed to be announced in a few days, and that was a couple of weeks ago.
Are you intending to make that announcement, or has there been some backlash against just the breadth of it? It does encompass quite a lot of different products, including tomato products that,
Yeah, I have no upcoming announcements about how we'll publicly talk about that discussion, but if I get more information, I'll let you know. Yes.
Can I ask you about Nevada, please?
Sure.
It's my understanding that the 2 rallies this weekend in Nevada have been canceled because of Governor Sisolak's order preventing events of 50 people or more. Does the president have a reaction? And what is the...
according to Chris Wilson, that is true.
White House policy about complying with the state's orders?
Which is you know what? Yes, for health purposes, that's good. I wish it hadn't been canceled. Because then, I really don't. But what this is going to do is now give the right, look what they're doing to us. They're censoring us, and they're not allowing us free speech and peaceful protest and all that sort of stuff. So what we should be concentrating on is the fact that we have Trump on tape admitting he downplayed the virus and lied to the American people.
Limiting the size of an event.
I have not heard that about the rallies, but I'd refer you to the campaign for further information on that. But as I discussed with Zeke here, that we believe that if people want to show up and express their political views, that's their choice to do so. We hand out masks. We encourage individuals to wear those masks. A lot of people did. I was in North Carolina last night and saw it. We give out hand sanitizer, but at the end of the day, if you want to join a peaceful protest, you can do so.
Those of us watching the live stream yesterday saw it too. Hardly anybody was wearing masks. In the overflow crowd, we counted 2 masks that we could see. Huge cage of people.
And there's no reason, just like the protests we've seen in the streets, you can't show up and express your political view at a rally. Yes.
Kayleigh, can you give us some understanding about why the president agreed to sit down with Bob Woodward for 18 interviews when his first book about the administration was so deeply critical?
Because he's the most transparent president in history.
Okay.
Sorry, one more follow-up. When do you expect that we'll get the short list of who the president is considering for the SCOTUS picks, and what's the criteria that he's using to assemble that list?
Yeah, that's a good question. You'll get that list in short order. The president is very excited to share who he would nominate to the Supreme Court, and what will guide his choices are people who follow the Constitution. He wants Constitution-abiding judges. He wants textualists who believe the words of the statute actually are what they are, not subject to interpretation. He wants judges guided by the Constitution.
Did you say statute?
Judges in the ilk of the 2 that he's nominated, like Justice Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. Yes.
Thanks, Kayleigh. Did the president or anyone at the White House have conversations with the Department of Justice about their decision to intervene in the Evening and Carroll lawsuit? And if so, what were the nature of those conversations?
I'm not aware of any discussions that have been had.
The president has claimed he signed a most favored nations executive order on prescription drugs. He mentioned this again last night. We haven't seen the text. Has he actually signed the EO? And if so, when will we see the text? And can you tell us what the status of negotiations?
Yeah, he signed, I don't know if it was an EO. It might have just been a memorandum like a month ago. But nothing goes into effect in January. And even then, Congress has to write it. It's completely powerless.
Is that with Sarna?
Colorado, we don't know if there's going to be more tapes or not. I haven't heard that. It's likely. Typically what they do is release a couple at a time to get interest in the book ginned up, and then people order the books. I will be ordering this book. I am fascinated by it, and there's a lot of on-the-record stuff. What the media chooses to release in terms of on-the-record and what I find interesting are often 2 different things.
Yeah, so the EO I believe he's referring to there is the previous one he's signed. A provision of that was most favored nation, which means that for Medicare programs, you have 2 ways to get prescriptions, Part D or Part B. Part B are drugs you would receive at the doctor's office, and the executive order tells the secretary to peg prices for Part B to a most favored nation price to make sure that American citizens are getting their medications at a price equally as cheap as other countries. So that was the initial EO I believe he was referring to, but any updates, I'll let you know in the upcoming days. Yes.
Thank you, Kayleigh. Just following up on the coronavirus issues, how is it not misleading for his advisors to tell him and compare this virus potential to the Spanish flu of 1918, but then for the president to say that this could disappear by April?
The president, again, was expressing calm. The president was hopeful that, COVID that we would be able to manage this and handle it in a way that we can make it go away as quickly as possible. And the president rose to the occasion and did just that. This was a lot
and
more,
lied to the American
by
people.
The way, it's worth mentioning the misleading that the WHO and China did on this. When you had the WHO, they were repeating China's claim that the virus does not transmit. This was a novel virus.
No, that was January 14th, and they said there's no evidence that the virus transmits person to person, but often in the case of respiratory illnesses, that further study is needed, blah, blah, blah. So that's completely disingenuous, only limited by the 280 characters of Twitter.
Had seen, and you have the World Health Organization saying this virus does not transmit readily. That is the information.
That's not what they said at all. That is completely wrong.
We were getting. You had.
Hold on. I was looking for him downplaying the virus. I have a video that puts them all together at some point. But I also found this. I don't even remember this. And the video is titled "Don't Be a Cutie Pie." So I just want to watch this. This is Trump. Don't be a cutie pie.
Are you able to guarantee, to assure these states, these hospitals, that everybody who needs a ventilator will get a ventilator?
So here's what I'll tell you. I think we're in really good shape. This is a pandemic the likes of which nobody's seen before. I think we're in great shape. I think that, number one, we've distributed ventilators is a big deal. We've distributed vast numbers of ventilators, and we're prepared to do vast numbers. I think we're in great shape. I hope that's the case. I hope that we're going to have leftovers so we can help other people, other countries.
Everybody who needs one will be able to get a ventilator.
Look, don't be a cutie pie, okay? You know, everyone who needs one. Nobody's ever done what we've done. Nobody's done anything like.
Don't be a cutie pie. Back to this.
O'Brien said that this virus could be the biggest threat to his presidency.
So the president couldn't have focused on the pandemic because he was being impeached? Really, Dougie? You can't do two things as well? Maybe he shouldn't have been giving rallies throughout March and playing golf. Maybe that would have helped him focus time. Doug, that's the stupidest argument. I'm really close to just blocking you because you're obviously not bright if you believe that for a second. So, no. You know what? I will give you the benefit of the doubt. Do you believe, Doug, that the president is too stupid of an individual to be able to deal with a pandemic while he's being impeached? Is that what you're contending there? Is that what you're saying? Because I'm just going to wait for you, Doug. Let's just give me yes or no. Is the president too stupid to deal with a pandemic during impeachment? Let's just wait. He's got a little bit of a delay here. Let's see. Let's see. Dougie, waiting on you. Okay, you're just seeing this now. So there's going to be about a 30-second delay here while waiting for Dougie. Let's just giving Dougie the benefit of the doubt. Because what he's contending here is the president is too much of an idiot to be able to handle being impeached and also dealing with a pandemic, which we have him on tape saying he knows how serious it is. Much more serious than he let on to the American people. I should cue up some Jeopardy music. I would get dinged by YouTube for that, though. Still waiting on Dougie here. Dougie? Is the president too stupid to do two things at once? Okay. Still waiting, Dougie. No? Nothing? I'm watching the Periscope chat room where Dougie is right now. And nothing from... No? Nothing? Oh, wait. Hold on. There's new messages coming in. Dougie, here we go. You're exposing your bias for the Russian thing was a demonstrable hoax. Did you call them out? Well, no. The Senate Republican Intel Committee showed that intelligence was being passed over to agents of Russia. There was over 100 incidents of collusion. If you're talking about conspiracy, no, they couldn't prove it because right there on page 10 of the Mueller report, you can see where they deliberately deleted emails, they pled the fifth, and they used encryption apps, hiding the truth. Because, that's innocent people always plead the fifth. So no, that it wasn't a hoax at all. Here's the thing, Dougie. The impeachment hoax wasn't a hoax. He was impeached. That's a fact. The president was impeached. That's not a hoax. It happened. So again, thank you for participating here. I appreciate that, Doug. Every time you chat, I make a little bit of money, and I appreciate that. But Dougie, is the president too stupid to handle? Those are my words. I'm asking you, yes or no. Is the president too stupid to handle a pandemic while being impeached? By the way, he was already impeached in December, but let's just say. No, Dougie, collusion isn't a crime. Of course not a single person was arrested for collusion. Hold on. Can I rewind on that? I want to rewind and show you guys what Dougie just yelled. Let's see. I think I can. Hold on. This is great. Oh, Dougie, I love you. This is fantastic material. I think I can. Let's see if I can get it. Where is it? Come on, show it to me. Yes, I can. Hold on. Nope. Am I moving the wrong thing? I am moving the wrong thing. Hold on. This is so perfectly a Bleacher comment. Okay. Let's see. What if I can move it over here. Yes, there it is right there. Let's go back up here because I can go back up on this chat. Where is it? It's Dougie yelling. Here it is. Look at this right here. I think I can zoom in. This is just the quintessential Bleacher. Dougie, you're fantastic. Please don't go anywhere. Okay, there's Dougie's quote, yelling. Hold on, I'm going to get back. This is Dougie. I'm being Dougie night now. Not a single person was arrested. Fear collusion. It's my impression of Dougie. Thank you. And Dougie, confirm this. We've never met, have we? And yet, spot on. Dougie, collusion is not a crime. That's why not a single person was arrested. Fear collusion. Or fur, like a fir tree. So fur collusion. Not a single person was arrested for fear collusion. That is correct. Because collusion, it's not against the law. You don't arrest people for things that aren't against the law. That's how law and order works. It's just... Trump supporters. God bless them. And you may not even be a Trump supporter. You're coming across like one, Doug. If you're not a bleacher, let us know. I don't know. Maybe you're an independent like me. Let me get rid of that for us here. I can just drag it off the screen. I'll get rid of it on my own later. Here we go. Let's go back to Kayleigh.
Matt Pottinger agreed with that assessment, and then President Trump would later say that no one could have predicted this when his own experts were predicting this.
Look, you're referring to the intel community.
That is true. Trump has said multiple times nobody knew this was coming when his own experts. And as he says, after talking to President Xi, he knew. He knew that it could be spread through the air.
And what the president knew was, and I've walked you through this before, on January 23rd, the intel community briefed President Trump for the first time about COVID, and the briefing said coronavirus from China is poised to spread globally, but the good news is that it is not deadly for most people. This is the information President Trump was getting, and the next time he was briefed on it was January 28th, when he was told that the spread was happening outside of China and the deaths remained all inside China. He was told then that China is not sharing key data. Indeed, China was not, because as I noted to you on January 9th, the World Health Organization said it does not readily transmit between people. And on January 14th, the World Health Organization said no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission. Clearly, that was not true.
No, there was no clear evidence of that. That was absolutely true. But in all of those tweets, they said further study is needed because respiratory diseases typically do spread person to person. It was just early in the virus. So, yeah, no, the WHO never lied about it. China may have been lying. They might have known. China lies about a lot of things. But the WHO had no evidence of that at the time. And if you just read the rest of the fucking tweets, you would know that.
Even on February 29th, as the virus was spreading, the WHO put political correctness first by opposing travel restrictions. Note that on...
Nope. They did not. They just said the travel restrictions can be helpful at the beginning of a virus, but they're nowhere near enough. They never said don't do any travel restrictions. Completely the opposite. But again, this is the level of comprehension from this side. Nobody was arrested for collusion!
January 31st, President Trump put into place those travel restrictions that Democrats called xenophobic. Shame on them. Yes.
What? Did she say xenophobic? Hold on.
29th, as the virus was spreading, the WHO put political correctness first by opposing travel restrictions. Note that on January 31st, President Trump put into place those travel restrictions that Democrats called xenophobic. Shame on them. Yes.
Kayleigh, on the same day the president...
Yes, shame on the Democrats for saying xenophobic, which is not a thing. I'm laughing because it's sad. It's just sad. This is the spokesperson. This is the spokesperson for the president. This is the best the Trump administration can offer. Xenophobic. Xenophobe. Trump says, see, let's go back to Trump. This is 2016. This is Trump calling it xenophobic. Never heard the word before. This is right after Hillary said basket of deplorables and called it xenophobic. This is Trump never having heard or read the word before. This is Trump in 2016.
She called these Americans every name in the book: racist, sexist, xenophobic, Islamophobic.
Xenophobic. Wow. Hold on. I gotta make this quiet because it keeps beeping at you guys. Let me go over here. So this is also the computer I use for my daily life as well. So xenophobic. I can't even say it. There's just so many variations of that word now in my head that I can't even. I'm writing that down. Was it Trump? Did Trump call it that a few days ago too? My computer is now on fire. It can't even handle all this. What did she call it? Xenophobic. And what day is it? It's 9. Macaroni. Okay, I've made those notes myself. Thank you for your time, everybody. Let's go on.
Tweeted that the virus would become weaker when the weather started getting warmer. He told Bob Woodward it was going to be deadly stuff. So why does Bob Woodward get the president's unvarnished opinion when the American people don't?
Good question.
He was giving Bob Woodward the same opinion he gave from the podium.
Nope.
And he said, I am here. I want to express calm. That is what a leader...
Let's go back to Trump giving that same opinion, shall we? Specifically, this part right here. I want to play this part for you guys, which my computer now shut down because, again, my computer's on fire right now. It can't keep up with all this xenophobia. This is the young people, talking about the young people. Remember, Trump saying it's amazing the young people are so strong, they're not getting sick.
Turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out.
Startling facts.
It's not just older.
Yeah.
It's not just older.
There's plenty of young people.
Young people, too. Plenty of young people. And yet, even today, he's trying to convince us that the young people, just yesterday in the rally that we watched together, we do most of the rallies, folks. I might not do the rallies anymore. Honestly, they're so boring now with Trump. It's so much the same nonsense over and over again. Xenophobic, fear of cheap CVS coolers. And if you have that at the same time as crippling xenophobia, it's a fear of malt beverages inside those CVS coolers. Still, though, if you're going on a short trip to the beach, yeah, it's going to fall apart by the end. But if you just want the Zima getting to the beach cold, it's not a bad deal. Terrible for the environment, though.
He is.
Oh, Trump's coming up? Somebody let me know when Trump starts. I'll pull up C-SPAN on the other screen, and my computer will just ignite.
He's always shared the facts. He has always been forthright, and he's always followed the advice of his medical experts, like Dr. Fauci, who called his response impressive. Yes.
Never said this was deadly.
Oh, this is Trump on the judicial nominations. We'll cut over to Trump if he starts. In the meantime, okay, they're just setting things up for him there. I will keep the audio on to try and notify myself. So we'll get right back to Kayleigh here.
Stuff.
Yes.
The American people.
Yes, he did. He acknowledged that hundreds of thousands could die, and he took the right response, which was to temporarily shut down the country, saved millions of lives, and so too of his therapeutics, so too will the vaccine that's being developed. Yes.
The protests in Belarus continue, as well as the crackdown on the opposition. What concrete steps the president is going to take to support
this is about the protests in Belarus, and she just goes to the binder on this one, so we'll skip through this one because we want to get to Trump. She's reading, and next question.
The number of Belarusians protesting peacefully makes clear that the government can no longer ignore the people's calls for democracy. Yes.
Kayleigh, how is the president keeping his promise of ending endless wars if this announcement on Iraq is just a drawdown, not a withdrawal? There are still troops in Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain. There's still troops. It's not really keeping the 2016 promise, is it?
That is an excellent point.
The president's drawing down our troops. These things.
Cutting and running does not mean ending the war.
Things take time. We want to ensure that the Iraqi security force.
Random image, you're correct. Trump never shut down the country. Never. In fact, at best, it was 50-50, according to Dr. Fauci.
Forces are well trained, and our U.S. troops have done a magnificent job doing just that. We believe that now is the time when we can make this drawdown, keep the country stable because of the training that our troops have done. So.
Ha ha ha, 1, 2, 3. If you have a problem understanding Biden, that's kind of on you, because I understand everything he says.
Tend to kind of try and make it look like.
So they're, what is it, orologists? What is the hearing doctor called, guys? Ha ha ha, go to your primary physician first. That's if you have health care. Of course you have health care. The president announced fantastic, very impressive health care for everybody at the end of August. I never heard the announcement. I missed it completely, but that's what he promised. So I'm sure everybody has fantastic healthcare now. So ha ha ha, 1, 2, 3, head to your primary care physician because you now have very impressive healthcare thanks to President Trump. Get that checked.
The promise is being kept in advance of the election?
No, not at all.
Audiologists, yes, but you have to get a referral usually in this country for whatever reason. Though Biden is plenty sentient. If we get a chance, we'll go take a look at Biden. And if you can't understand him, that's a learning disability on your behalf. And in which case, again, go to your primary care physician.
This is an expression that we believe that Iraqi security forces can do this alongside the troops that will remain there. And the facts tell the story that this president broke the 39-year-old streak of American presidents either starting a war or bringing the United States into an international armed conflict. So
we killed Soleimani and Iran bombed our troops. How is that not an armed conflict? We sent Tomahawk missiles into Syria. How is that not an armed conflict? This is just complete revisionist history. Both of those things happened, and they were celebrated from that podium when they did.
So, unlike past presidents, this president has prioritized.
Honestly, at this point, Biden could be moot and in a wheelchair. Still get my vote. Fine. The man's brain works. Trump's does not. Trump hid the coronavirus and the dangers of it from the American people. Killed 200,000 people. Imagine how much better our response would have been, not the 5th worst on the planet, but one of the best if we had used the full force of government, if Trump had decided he didn't want to cause a panic.
Peace through strength, which is his foreign policy.
Just one really quick follow-up, just really quick follow-up. Sorry. Just on the breaking the 39-year trend, how does that work if the president sent troops into Saudi Arabia?
Okay, excellent point. 30-year sending troops overseas, moving troops, deserting the Kurds, by the way. It's talking about armed conflicts, just deserting our allies.
Now, Kayleigh, thank you. With Kosovo and United Arab Emirates, these are
this is OAN.
Muslim majority countries spanning 2 continents now, each bringing some kind of agreement with Israel towards peace. So my question is 2 points. Number one,
what did she just say?
Kosovo and United Arab Emirates, these are Muslim majority countries spanning 2 continents now, each bringing some kind of agreement with Israel towards peace. So my question is 2 points.
Spanning 2 continents. Kosovo and, spanning 2 continents. That is an interesting perspective. Turkey and Syria, both spanning 2 continents. If you know your geography, that's funny.
Number one, have the Palestinians opened up any kind of discourse with the White House as to their reaction to these developments in...
And if what Cuomo did was against federal law or guidelines, then that definitely needs to be looked at. It should be investigated 100%, Dougie. I have no affinity to Cuomo. But here's the thing. We're not talking about Cuomo right now. We're talking about Trump. That's what we're talking. He's the president. The buck stops with him.
With Israel.
I thought I made that clear. When it's like, let's stick to Trump here, there's way too much territory to talk about everybody else. You can talk about Hillary and Obama and Cuomo and everybody else. Go get your own live stream. It's not hard to do. Trust me.
Israel and Middle Eastern countries. And number two, have the Palestinians actually expressed any interest in distancing themselves from Iran in the interest of Middle East peace?
Yeah, through the deal, President Trump made additional progress on reaching peace in the Middle East. Kosovo and Israel agreed to mutual recognition and normalization of ties, and Serbia committed to moving its embassy to Jerusalem only a few weeks after the historic Abraham Accords between Israel and the United Arab Emirates. This is another huge step forward for broader peace in the Middle East and the rest of the world. I'd refer you to the Palestinians for their reaction, but it is quite telling that this historic agreement between Serbia and Kosovo addressing a decades-long conflict was only mentioned one time on CNN and one time on MSNBC. Yes.
I Googled that yesterday, and there were multiple articles on all of the... But again, it's an economic agreement. There was a flight between Israel and UAE. It's certainly much more historic is the agreement between Hamas and Israel that is currently underway, not brokered by Jared Kushner. So another quote in the Woodward book, which I haven't read yet, but I do know this is a quote. Apparently he quotes Jared Kushner paraphrasing the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland about President Trump leadership. When you don't know where you're going, any path will get you there. That's Jared Kushner's comments on President Trump's...
I wanted to ask about the Winter Olympics in Beijing in 2022. More than 160 human rights groups have called on the International Olympic Committee chief to revoke...
There's no answer to this one. Let's move on.
Dismissed this story, and now you even have the author of the story who said...
Oh, okay. She goes back to the...
show that he has stood up to China, unlike any president before him in modern history. But one thing I do want to address is just this really egregious, and I addressed it on Friday, but it's worth updating this Atlantic story written by a liberal activist. Now you have 25...
The journalist, but liberal activist, sure.
5 people who have spoken out.
Oh, hold on. Let's just put a pin in that. She calls Goldberg, the author of the story in The Atlantic, the one where Trump calls the people who died in the war losers and suckers. Liberal activist, okay? Keep in mind, he's a liberal activist.
And dismissed this story, and now you even have the author of the story who said, quote, "I share the view that it's not good enough," quote, referring to the fact that he did this false report based on anonymous...
No, he didn't refer to himself doing a false report. He said it's not good enough to have the anonymous sources. He wishes that the people would come on record. He hopes that they do, and he does foresee that happening. But he wasn't referring to his own false story.
Sources, and basically when you look at the liberal activist who wrote this,
again, liberal activist,
he has a very bad history. He can't be trusted. The left's new hero used to be their #1 enemy for his role in the U.S. entry into Iraq. Indeed, in the early 2000s, this author was then at the New Yorker, and he extensively wrote on the possible links between Iraq and al-Qaeda, a suggested link that was key behind the decision of U.S. involvement in Iraq. He relied on people who, in his words, quote, "seemed to me to be credible," who said that they had information about such connections between al-Qaeda and Iraq. And Goldberg's reporting simply backed up his view that the U.S. should invade Iraq. In Slate in 2002, this author argued in favor of the U.S. invading Iraq. And later, he even admitted that he knew people blamed him for helping to get the U.S. into the war. He wrote a sarcastic piece saying, yes, I know I started the Iraq war.
Okay, again, she's calling him a liberal activist. And he was pro-entry into the Iraq war, which liberals were not pro-entry into the Iraq war at the time.
His report...
And Trump's Iraq war views? Hold on, I have him. He took a firm position against the Iraq war, as he's stated many times. Joe Biden voted for the Iraq war. This is President Trump taking a very firm stand against going into Iraq.
Are you for invading Iraq?
Yeah, I guess so. I wish it was. I wish the first time it was done correctly.
That's a firm stand, putting his foot down against going into Iraq. Yeah, I guess so.
Cannot be trusted, as noted by the fact that 25 people have come out on the record dismissing his...
No, they haven't dismissed it. They just said they didn't hear Trump say that. But it was, if you look at the article, it specifically says senior staff. So an aide to General Kelly may not have been in that conversation. senior staff.
His report.
And of those 25 people, almost all of them I've seen in the last couple of days were not there. They just happened. I haven't heard the president say anything like that. But Woodward's book has several other incidents like that. And then for those of you who watch Fox News, several other incidences. Here we go. Perfect timing. Goodbye, Kayleigh.
By a liberal activist. Thank you.
Very much,
Shut up.
my fellow Americans. Apart from matters of war and peace, the nomination of a Supreme Court justice is the most important decision an American president can make. For this reason, candidates for president owe the American people a specific list of individuals they consider for the United States Supreme Court. 4 years ago, I announced my first list of highly qualified candidates and promised to fill Justice Scalia's vacant seat from among those names. And just days after my inauguration, I kept that promise when I nominated Judge Neil Gorsuch, and as you know, he has been very spectacular.
Has he,
later,
though?
I nominated, and the Senate confirmed another outstanding justice, Brett Kavanaugh. By the end of my first term, we will have confirmed a record number of federal judges, over 300, all of whom will faithfully uphold our Constitution as written. What has always made America exceptional is our reverence for the impartial rule of law. People have come from all over the world,
accusing other presidents of treason.
Based on this sacred principle, equality under the law is the bedrock of our society. It is the principle that inspired American heroes to abolish slavery and end segregation, secure civil rights, and build the most free and just nation in history. Unfortunately, there is a growing radical left movement that rejects the principle of equal treatment under the law. If this extreme movement is granted a majority on the Supreme Court, it will fundamentally transform America without a single vote of Congress. Radical justices will erase
that's not the way it
Second
works.
Amendment, silence political speech, and require taxpayers to fund extreme.
The Supreme Court literally rules on what the Congress says.
Unelected bureaucrats the power to destroy millions of American jobs. They will remove the words "under God" from the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
They will unilaterally declare the death penalty unconstitutional, even for the most depraved mass murderers. They will erase national borders, cripple police departments, and grant new protections to anarchists, rioters, violent criminals, and terrorists. In the recent past, many of our most treasured freedoms, including religious liberty, free speech, and the right to keep and bear arms, have been saved by a single vote on the United States Supreme Court. Our cherished rights are at risk, including the right to life and our great Second Amendment. Over the next 4 years, America's president will choose
somebody want to
hundreds
wake
of
up the
federal
president?
judges and, in all likelihood, 1, 2, 3, and even 4 Supreme Court justices.
What about 5?
The outcome of these decisions will determine whether we hold fast to our nation's founding principles or whether
See if I can wake him
they are
up.
lost forever.
Hey, wake up!
That is why today I am announcing 20 additions to my original list of candidates for the United States Supreme Court. Should there be another vacancy on the Supreme Court during my presidency, my nominee will come from the names I have shared with the American public, including the original list and these 20 additions.
Yeah.
Joe Biden has refused to release his list, perhaps because he knows the names.
Because you don't do
are
that.
so
No one else does that except
extremely far
you.
left that they could never withstand
Not
public
necessary.
scrutiny.
What about
receive
taxes?
acceptance.
Can we talk about
We
taxes?
must release a list of justices.
That's what everybody, all the kids are doing
Properly
that.
Make a decision as to how they will vote. It is very important that he do so. My original list. of
Nobody
potential
shows what's on their
justices
Zune.
include
I will
many
show
of our
you every
nation's
track on my
finest
Zune.
legal minds, such as Bill Pryor.
Well, we all have
Amy
iPods.
Coney
We're all
Barrett,
using iPods.
and
I know, but
Thomas Harding,
I'm willing to show you
standing
everything on my Zune.
Like those distinguished individuals, the 20 additions I am announcing today would be jurists in the mold of Justices Antonin Scalia, Clarence Thomas, and Samuel Alito. Their names are as follows.
Oh, he's going to give us the names?
Beatty of Arizona, judge on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Oh, God, their positions,
Daniel
too.
Cameron of Kentucky, Attorney General of the Commonwealth.
Why are we watching this? Let's go watch Biden.
Paul Clement.
What else
Virginia,
we got?
Former Solicitor
Just
General
tune
of
out
the
right now.
United
Go to the bathroom. Come back.
Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas.
I don't even know if there's any press in there. I'm not hearing
Senator
any cameras.
Ted Cruz
and he's reading from a
of Texas.
teleprompter in front of the camera. So
Stuart Kyle Duncan of Louisiana.
Typically, this is a small
judge on
room.
the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Typically, there's not a lot of press in there,
Stephen
if there's
Engel
anybody.
of the
Might
District
just be
of
press
Columbia.
pool, and this just could be a White House
Assistant
feed.
Attorney General for the Office of Legal Counsel at the Department of Justice. Noel Francisco, former Solicitor General of the United States. Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. James Ho of Texas, judge on the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Gregory Katsas of Virginia, judge on the
So how's
District
everybody?
of
What's going on
Columbia
today?
Circuit Court of Appeals.
He doesn't have any pupils.
Barbara Lugoa of Florida, judge on the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. Christopher Landau of Maryland.
This has got to end at some point.
United States Ambassador to Mexico. Carlos Muniz.
Emma, you're at a Burger King right now?
Florida Justice on the Supreme Court of Florida.
Tater tots and prayers.
Martha Packold of Illinois.
That's a
judge
food
on the
joke.
District Court for the Northern District of Illinois.
And YouTube wants to
Peter
demonetize
Fitz
my
of
channel.
Pennsylvania.
Come on.
Judge on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals.
Circuit.
Sarah Pitlick of Missouri. Judge on the District Court for
Wonder
the
if it's any
Eastern
relation to the
District
hockey
of
player.
Missouri. Allison Jones Rushing of North Carolina. Judge on the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. Kate Todd of Virginia. Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy Counsel to the President. Lawrence Van Dyke of Nevada. Judge on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Every one of these individuals will ensure equal
he's done.
justice,
Okay.
equal treatment,
All right.
and equal rights for citizens of
I
every
don't
race,
think he's
color,
going to address
religion, and
anything.
creed.
We'll see.
Together,
I've been
we
wrong
will
before.
defend our righteous heritage and preserve our
Righteous
magnificent
heritage.
American way of life. Thank you. God bless America. Thank
That's
you
it?
very much. Thank you. Does anybody
Oh, there's
have
press.
any questions
Oh,
on
he's
the
going to take
judges?
questions.
Please. Anybody on the judges? Excuse me.
On the
Any
judges.
questions? They're outstanding people. Very important decision. Very important that Joe
Is he
Biden
only going to take
put
questions
up
on judges?
Potential nominees. I think it's a very important thing for our country that he do that.
He
Okay,
doesn't have
let's go.
any information on the judges.
Question?
Can you address the concerns from the Woodward book in regards to whether did you mislead the public by saying
Did you mislead the public in the Woodward book?
the coronavirus, and that you repeatedly did that in order to reduce panic? Did you mislead the public?
Well, I think.
Did you mislead the
in order
public?
To reduce panic, perhaps that's so. The fact is, I'm a cheerleader for this country. I love our country. And I don't want people to be frightened. I don't want to create panic, as you say. And certainly I'm not going to drive this country or the world into a frenzy. We want to show confidence. We want to show strength. We want to show strength as a nation. And that's what I've done. And we've done very well. We've done well from any standard. You look at our numbers compared to other countries, other parts of the world.
Okay.
It's been an amazing job that we've done. I think it's very sad in many respects because
Number 5,
incredible
worst. That's the 5th
individuals
worst.
working so hard on it, including our vice president. They've done this great job. They haven't been acknowledged by
This is not a great job.
They
This is the
should.
5th
So the
worst
job
response
we've
on the
done,
planet.
whether it's ventilators, and now you'll see very soon with vaccines and with therapeutics, the job we've done has been incredible.
No,
But
it's
we
not.
don't want to,
Incredibly
don't
bad.
want to instill panic. We don't want to jump up and down and start shouting that we have a problem that is.
They were just asking for honesty.
Scare everybody, and I'll tell you the other thing. We immediately started buying all over the world. We started buying masks and gowns and everything else, and we don't want to cause pricing to go up to a level that becomes almost unaffordable. So yeah, in that sense.
So you misled.
Yeah, please.
You misled the American people.
The American public going forward that they can trust what you're saying.
Well, I think that's really a big part of trust. We have to have leadership. We have to show leadership. And the last thing you want to do is create a panic in the country. This was a horrible thing.
So you lied. So you wouldn't create a planet. You lied.
This is a disgusting, terrible situation that was foisted upon us, and we have to show. We just don't want to use the best word is panic. We don't want to have to show.
I don't know if the best word is foisted.
Panic, and that's exactly what I did. And I was very open, whether it's to Woodward or anybody else. It's just another political hit job. But whether it was Woodward or anybody else, you cannot show a sense of panic, or you're going to have bigger problems than you ever had before. Please.
Respectfully, sir, your comments amounted to more than trying to reduce panic. So on February 7th, you told Woodward it's more deadly than your strenuous flu.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, don't you think if you were more forthright with the American people, more lives could have been saved? Do you take responsibility at all for some of the 200,000 deaths that we've had?
So I think if we didn't do what we did, we would have had millions of people die. We closed up our country. We closed it up very, very quickly, very effectively. We did a job. We learned about this horrible disease, along with the rest of the world, which had to learn about it. And then we opened it up, and now we know the vulnerable. We know who it attacks, who it's so vicious against.
He is foisty.
And I think we've done, from every standpoint, a incredible job. We shouldn't have lost anybody.
Except from the standpoint of the pandemic.
China released something that they shouldn't have been allowed to they should not have released. It came out of China. It went to Europe. It went all over the world.
They didn't release it.
It never happened. They could have stopped it. They stopped it from going into the remainder of China. It started in Wuhan.
Not true at all.
And they stopped it. But they didn't stop it from coming to our country. Now,
it's a virus.
Show calm.
It doesn't care about borders.
You know, if it was up to you or whoever, I have no idea what he said in the book. And again,
no idea.
That I gave him some quotes.
He's been watching TV all morning.
We'll see how the book turned out. I have no idea. You're asking me questions for the first time. But again, the last thing we can show
this is a lie.
Is panic or excitement or fear or anything else.
Or honesty.
We had to take care of the situation we were given. Now, long before anybody else wanted to do it, I closed our borders to a very heavily infected China.
We were, what, the 18th country to close the borders? And we didn't.
Thousands more people die. Dr. Fauci said it. Many people said it. It was a great decision.
Dr. Fauci's not said 100,000.
And I had to make. It was a decision that a lot of people thought I was wrong. Nancy Pelosi said I was wrong. Joe Biden said I was wrong.
Joe Biden didn't say he was wrong.
They all came back and they said it was the right decision. And I was way early. That was in January. The end of January I did that. So that was a very good thing we did. Otherwise, we would have had hundreds of thousands more. But if we didn't close the country,
but no other country has anywhere close to us, and they didn't shut down travel at all.
Numbers that we have right now.
You mentioned that you were trying to avoid price gouging, but you mentioned to Bob Woodward that you recognize that this virus spread through the air on February 7th. You didn't begin Project Airbridge until March. You didn't use the Defense Production Act until March. You didn't start ramping up ventilator production until March.
You didn't really think it was going to be to the point where it was. All of a sudden, the world was infected. The entire world was infected. Everyone was scrambling around looking where to buy face masks and all of the other things. We've opened up factories. We've had tremendous success with face masks and with shields.
No, Biden didn't say he was wrong,
Dougie. We're now supplying the rest of the world. We have all the ventilators we can use. And remember this, the ventilators were very important. Not one person that needed a ventilator didn't get it. And these are very complex.
No, many people didn't get ventilators because they didn't go to the hospital.
Something like hadn't been
this disease kills in an hour sometimes.
We've done an incredible job, but we don't want to run around screaming, shouting, oh, look at this, look at this. We have to show leadership. And leadership is all about confidence. And confidence is confidence in our country. And our people have been great. We've been put through a lot by China, by releasing this, by having this.
Yeah, all of these panics happened. The stock market crashed. The job market crashed. People did hoard at the supermarkets. All of the things he was trying to protect us from, they happened anyway. Of course they happened.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. Marcy's got the records. Her Amazon delivery record shows that I knew it would be this bad back in March. Yeah, Absolutely. Should we check out Biden, guys? Doug, just to talk to you a little bit about Biden never said that his actions were xenophobic. Just putting it all together now. He said that calling it the China virus was, and that Trump in general was xenophobic, which he is. I mean, that's documented. He banned Chad. And no, he never banned travel from China. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I think that was you that I was talking to about that. You're welcome to look it up. Here, I'll help. Bring it over here. This is a thing called Google. If you go to google.com, I know it's a silly name, but you can do this. Just type in White House Proclamation China. First thing that comes up on my proclamation of the suspension of entry as non-immigrants, blah, blah, blah. Nope, that's May 20th. That's his second proclamation. Let's go back. That was about students and stuff. Immigrants. Here we go. This is the one from January 31st, which, by the way, he didn't go into effect until February 2nd at 5 p.m. We'll confirm that. There it is right there. This proclamation is effective at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on February 2nd. That gave thousands of people the opportunity to rush into the country from China. So they had a 2-day window. Same thing with Europe. Everybody rushed over from Europe during those 2 days. I know there's people watching right now that brought their friends and family from Europe during the grace period. That's the way that worked. So anyway, what I wanted to show you here is that there wasn't a ban on travel from China. Italy put a ban. No more flights, no nothing, nobody coming from China. It was too late for Italy. For us, it did make a difference. Travel was coming over from Europe, or the virus was coming over from Europe. Travel kept coming over from China. This whole travel ban from China, nope. Here are the exemptions. Let's just count them. Here we go. Scope of suspensions. Section 1 of this proclamation shall not apply to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's your Roman numerals. Blah, 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 blah. There it is. XI, that means 11. There were 11 exceptions to this limited, it's not a ban, I don't even know what to call it. But right in the proclamation, you can search this yourself, 11 exceptions to it. You can't come in unless, well, you're an American, unless you know an American, unless you're being adopted by an American, unless I don't have friends and family, unless you live in Hong Kong, unless you live in Macau, both part of China. But yeah, come on in. Other parts of China, yeah, come on in. And as you probably know, most people, like myself, I'm a dual citizen. I can have Canadian and American citizenship at the same time, according to Canada. I have a Canadian passport. And if I wanted to, I could travel if I'd been to China, and this, by the way, many, many people on the planet have dual citizenship. It's pretty standard. So people were coming in using whatever passport didn't have the Chinese stamp in it. That's what happens. That's what did happen, and no, we weren't testing them. So that was Trump. Let's go check out our friend Biden. If you guys want to check that out. This is a long broadcast already. So far, 1 hour 40. Let's pull up the C-SPAN and see if we can find Mr. Biden here. You guys want to watch some Biden? Let's see. We're a little bit behind. I'll look at the YouTube chat. Let me know if you guys want to watch some Biden. I'll pull them up here. I'll get them ready.
Tones that the fight for both our health and economic security.
Seriously, health and safety are there's.
Yes, Biden. Okay. Oh, for the love. Hold on.
I like the sound of that.
Look at this low energy guy. Watch him. Look at that. He can barely get down the ramp. By the way, Springsteen probably authorized the use of this song. I don't know that for sure. I didn't know that you were Irish, Dennis. I knew you were a bi-citizen, but I didn't know Irish specifically.
Hello. Since I'm socially distanced, I'm allowed to take my mask off, they tell me, while I speak, but I promise I'll put it back on, Gov. Ladies and Gentlemen, good afternoon. And, Secretary Kerry and Mr. President, I like the sound of that. Where is my president? There you are. Thank you, pal. Thanks for the welcome. It's great to be here in Michigan. And
Guy, look at that. They've put, 3 or 4 cars into Joe Biden's basement. That's incredible. He has the best basement ever.
And with the United Auto Workers. As they say in parts of my state, I got brung up on General
Dual citizen. You're dual citizen, Dennis.
Motors. My father ran a General Motors agency. He didn't own it, but he ran it. And cars are cars are cars. And by the way, I still have my '67 Corvette.
I want to vote for this guy now. He's got a '67 Corvette.
That was new. I still keep that. But I got to tell you, I'm waiting for that electric one you just all made that goes 210 miles an hour. But that's a different story. Look, earlier this week, and the reason we're a little bit late here, we found as I was getting off the plane, the press asked me a legitimate question that I did not have the background on because it occurred on the plane. Earlier this week, we celebrated Labor Day, and here at the heart of the American automobile industry, we never forget everything that we owe the unions. And unions, as you've heard me say many times, built this country.
That's a C-SPAN pause.
Unions built the economy, the economic engine that has driven American manufacturing dynamism. And literally, in the case of the auto workers, you're the ones that did it. So I want to thank you again, UAW Region 1, for hosting me today. And it's great to see Senator Stabenow, my good friend Debbie Stabenow. Got a chance to spend a little time with the governor, but Senator Stabenow and I worked together on an awful lot of matters over the years in the United States Senate. She was a great partner to me when I was vice president. And we worked in lockstep to get the people of Michigan back on their feet. We were joined by one of the best and brightest and hardest working governors around, my friend Gretchen Whitmer. And if you're wondering what responsible, strong executive leadership looks like in COVID-19, just look at this executive right here. Governor, you've done an incredible job steering the people of Michigan through a turbulent time. Much of it is brought on by Donald Trump's lack of leadership. You've been rock solid, Governor. You've listened to the experts.
As a government
and you've led
governor of
science,
Michigan,
and you put the
Whitmer.
needs of the people who are hurting first, helping them get through this crisis. Meanwhile, on the day that we hit 190,000 dead in the United States because of COVID-19, we just learned from the Washington Post columnist Bob Woodward that the President of the United States has admitted on tape in February he knew about COVID-19 that had passed through the air. He knew how deadly it was. It was much more deadly than the flu. He knew and purposely played it down. Worse, he lied to the American people. He knowingly and willingly lied about the threat it posed to the country for months. He had the information. He knew how dangerous it was.
I like men, and I like women to hang around with. But here's the thing, and you can quote me on this. Men are prickly. We are. By the way, did anybody notice that I shaved? I thought you people cared.
And while this deadly disease ripped through our nation, he failed to do his job on purpose.
Yeah, if I hear something, if I call out Biden all the time. I don't care. I'm not a Democrat, Dougie. I thought I explained that earlier. I'm just here for the truth and to make the jokes. And to talk to the friends in the chat room. Hey, by the way, you're watching the live stream. I am your Kevinly Father, Kevin Williams. This is what we do. We chat truth to power. So typically Trump and the Republicans, because they're just easy targets. It's nothing but lies. But if Biden gets something wrong, I'll call him out on it. And you're welcome to as well. But you know what? He's a decent human being. And I don't know what Biden could do at this point to convince me not to vote for him, even though I'm in California, my vote doesn't count.
It was a life and death betrayal of the American people. Experts say that if he had acted just just 1 week sooner,
Yep.
36,000 people would have been saved.
That is correct.
If he acted 2 weeks sooner, back in March, 54,000 lives.
Those are accurate. Those are numbers from the UW Center for Public Health. What is it? IHME. Quoted by the White House, by the way, until they started issuing those numbers, and then we haven't heard anything about them from the White House.
Would have been spared in March and April alone. You know,
I believe the networks did show some Biden, but this was I was driving at the time that this speech was going on. I'm lying. I wasn't driving the entire time, but this is in the past now. This is all part of the past. Let's look to the future.
Failure has not only cost lives, it sent our economy in a tailspin. It cost millions more in American livelihoods.
Yep.
This is a recession created by Donald Trump's negligence, and he is unfit for this job as a consequence of it. How many schools...
That is an opinion, and it's true.
...aren't open right now? How many kids are starting the new school year the same way they ended the last one? At home. How many parents feel abandoned and overwhelmed? How many frontline workers are exhausted and pushed to their limits? And how many families are missing loved ones at their dinner table tonight because of his failures? It's beyond despicable. It's a dereliction of duty. It's a disgrace.
So he just said that it's beyond despicable. It's a dereliction of duty. It's a disgrace. We've had several people in here today that can't understand what he's saying. Is anyone having problems understanding? Because he's being very, very cogent here, quite articulate. If you can't understand what he's saying, like I said, check with your doctor with the fantastic health care that Trump announced at the end of August. That again, I usually catch everything Trump does, but I missed that.
We're going to hear a lot more about this, I'm sure, not just from
coughs directly into his hand. Old people, am I right?
Me, but from the news media and a lot of others. But I want to ask you one simple question. What's the value of a promise? What's it worth?
500?
What's the worth of a woman or man's word, of a president's word, if it's not matched with action?
Yeah, what's the worth of Stacey Young's word? In the 11th grade, she told me she would love me forever.
In 2016, then candidate Trump
coughs into his hand.
To warn. Just a few days before the election, here's what he said. He said,
by the way, you won't see Biden cough into his hand again. I'll bet you money on that. I'll bet you 14 cents that he won't, because he'll be called out on this over and over again.
If I'm elected,
yeah,
you won't lose one plant. You have plants coming into this country. You're going to have jobs again. You won't lose one
plant.
I promise you.
C-SPAN is doing the pausing, not me.
That's what he said. Donald Trump makes a lot of promises. He promised that he alone could stop the offshoring of jobs. He promised he'd bring back jobs, stop companies from leaving. He could do what, quote, nobody else could do it but him. He promised that his administration would enforce every last buy an American provision on behalf of the American people. And what makes his wild claims and hopes...
by the way, it was 2004 when they told us to stop coughing into our hands and to cough into our sleeves or our elbows. So Biden is this is C-SPAN pausing, by the way. I'm trying to get it to go here. I'm clicking as we're talking. So Biden lived under the impression that you're supposed to cough into your hand to cover your cough for the first 187 years of his life. So it's hard to blame him.
He now hopes we don't notice what he said or won't remember. And when he does follow through or doesn't do when follow through, the exact opposite. He's hoping we just have poor memories. He doesn't give us much credit. But the American people are smart honest, decent, and they're hardworking.
To his credit, the first time we saw him on a bike, he wasn't wearing a helmet. A week later, on a Sunday bike ride, he was wearing a helmet.
And we expect our president to be straight with us, to do what he or she says they're going to do. So let's look at the reality of Donald Trump's economy.
Yes, let's.
And what exactly his promise to the American people and workers are worth. He's on track to be the first president since Herbert Hoover and the Great Depression to see the number of jobs in our economy go down, not up, while being president.
That is correct.
Our economy's down 4.7 million jobs since he took office. 4.7. Even before President Trump's failed response.
Keep going.
The COVID-19 crashed our economy. His reckless and chaotic trade policy had thrown American manufacturing into recession. It was already contracting in 2019.
Yeah.
Even when COVID-19 hit, before it hit, Trump was creating an average of 500,000 jobs fewer per year than the last 3 years when President Obama and I were in office.
That is correct.
And when the GM transmission plant here in Warren closed last year, I bet the workers...
This is C-SPAN pausing, by the way.
...around weren't all that comforted by Trump's empty promises. Under Donald Trump, Michigan lost auto jobs even before COVID hit. And what about offshoring? Has Trump delivered on stopping companies from shipping jobs overseas, American jobs? You already know the answer. Of course not. The rate of offshoring by federal contractors, they're people that get federal dollars from the federal government to do things. The offshoring, big companies being paid by U.S.
Yeah, I'm worried about Biden. About every 15 seconds, he just pauses for like 10 seconds. You're right, Dennis. I am quite worried. C-SPAN does this. Sometimes it gets really bad. Today, it's really bad. We might. It is getting annoying. Let's go see if we can find it somewhere else. Give me one moment, please. Let's pull up this. I honestly don't know if the other channels went and covered it. I'm on Fox right now. Oh, here we go. So Fox did cover some of it. Let's find out.
And the last one, at home. How many parents feel the
Okay, we saw that. Here we go.
Before it hit.
Close.
From the federal government to do things. The offshoring. Big companies being paid by U.S. taxpayers has doubled under Trump. Those contracts, federal contracts with your tax dollars, they've doubled the number that have been offshored.
I don't know that to be a fact. I will look into that. Number
four? He invited companies to the White House
to
make what he called the Pledge to American Workers.
So the right will be highlighting those coughs. I guarantee it. Team Trump will have those coughs all over the place, and they will be. There will be conspiracy theories about how unwell Joe Biden actually is, and they'll show those coughs on an endless loop on the Twitters, and they'll probably get a bunch of Republicans to comment on it. You know who they should get? Herman Cain.
He couldn't even keep those firms from outsourcing. Many were given lucrative federal contracts. But then some of them turned around and shipped 7,000 jobs overseas. Under President Trump's U.S. trade deficit has grown. It's hit an all-time high.
That is true.
Again. U.S. trade deficit is at an all-time high.
That's correct.
Under Trump in the last 3 years. President Trump's answer.
That last part is not correct.
All this is the same as answer to everything. Corporate tax giveaways that actually reward offshoring. You heard me right.
Yep.
Giveaways that reward offshoring. If you offshore, you get more tax breaks.
Yep.
2017 tax.
That was 2018, but you can call it 2017 too.
Bill slash taxes on companies that send production and jobs overseas. Those corporations then make huge profits by shipping these foreign...
Is producer Joanna watching? Because she's going to get mad at me about the bell.
...made products back to the United States.
Dougie, what's false? Let me know what's false, and we'll do a little research for you here.
To sell to American consumers. And no industry has taken a greater advantage of Trump's offshoring tax loopholes than the pharmaceutical industry. Big Pharma lobbied Trump for a handout. That's exactly what they got from him. Farmers building, U.S. Pharma is building factories overseas instead of in the United States, skipping out on having to pay U.S. taxes.
That's true.
And then sending those same foreign-made drugs back to American consumers.
That's how it works.
All.
Oh, okay. Let's see if it'll go right back to the next part on outnumbered. We hit the end of that program. Let's see if it does what it's supposed to do. Dougie, I'm controlling this right now, but which part of it was false? The 7,000 from federal contractors?
So is meant to be a fun exchange, and I hope people...
Let's see where we can find the Biden. Oh, you know what? Fox cut away, so we can't find it there. Let's go back and see if we can find it on MSNBC. Got to go to the library for that. What time was that? That was probably 11? Yeah? No, it's probably 10. Yeah, it was probably 11 o'clock is what we're looking for. So 11 o'clock on MSNBC. Katie Turner, is she on at 11 now? Let's find out. Boom. Let's listen.
States.
Yeah.
Skipping out on having to pay U.S. taxes. And then sending those same foreign-made drugs back to American consumers. All while raising their prices on prescription drugs that union families and working people have to rely on.
I had a friend with prescription drugs. She had a mastectomy, and it was... Anyway, that's... I take that back. Hold on, I'm going to mute that part. That was a terrible joke. Much better. Now don't get angry at me.
And in the process, by the way, he's trying to do away with all health care in America. During a pandemic, we're seeing not only the inequity of this policy, but the enormous vulnerability that this creates for our own health security. And our security requires us to have supply chains of the necessary drugs based here, not overseas in times of crisis. And what about Trump's commitment to buy American? Like the rest of President Trump's promise, it has nothing to do with reality. It's all a bunch of hot air. In fact, contracts awarded by U.S. governments to foreign companies using American tax dollars went up 30% since he's been president. So to recap, 1, Trump hasn't stopped companies from closing plants and sending jobs overseas. 2, he's rewarded companies that have cut jobs and failed to invest here at home with billions of dollars in tax breaks. And 3, he's awarding more and more federal contracts to foreign companies. President Trump has broken just about every promise he's ever made to the American worker. And he's failed. He's failed our economy and our country. But look, would you really expect anything different from this guy? From someone who called those of you and those who are serving in uniform, who have given their lives to the country, losers and suckers? Let me tell you something. My son Bo was an assistant U.S. attorney. He volunteered to go to Kosovo to help them set up the government in the middle of the war. I know I'm being proud here.
That's the feed, not me.
But he's the only foreigner has a monument that they raised and built in service to him, thanking him for what he did. My son also then, as Attorney General, volunteered to go to Iraq for 1 year. He wasn't a loser or a sucker. No one who served this nation has been a loser or a sucker. They're all heroes. But would you expect anything different from someone who could stand next to a father of a fallen soldier and say, at a cemetery, and say, I don't get it. What was in it for them? What was in it for them? Donald Trump doesn't understand what it means to serve something bigger than yourself. He doesn't understand duty, honor, country. He lives in by a different code. Lies, selfishness, greed. Yes, Donald Trump and I have a pretty different philosophy when it comes to giving our word. Mine means something. When I tell the American people I'm going to do something, I follow through. Here in Michigan, you know that's true. When Barack and I took office back in 2009, the economy was crashing. We inherited an economy in free fall. And millions of Americans, including so many right here in Michigan, lost their jobs, their homes, and their savings. With the help of Debbie breaking her neck here, President Obama and I worked hard. He put me in charge of the Recovery Act. I spent a lot of time here in Michigan and Detroit, working with you and Senator Stabenow and thinking every single day about the folks on the factory line, busting their necks, just trying to put food on the table. A lot of folks were all ready to count Detroit out, as well as the auto American industry to count it out. But I knew what Debbie knew. I've known always. It's never a good bet to bet against the American worker. So when we promised to stand with the American auto industry, we delivered. We didn't do it to help wealthy investors or pad bonus checks for CEOs. We did it to save an iconic American industry, a testament to the skills and ingenuity of American manufacturing and the jobs of hundreds of thousands of American workers and the lifeblood of communities all across the Midwest and used to be in my state of Delaware as well. When Detroit declared bankruptcy, I was right here working alongside the city leaders to get the lights turned back on, to revitalize the future of Detroit. And while nearly 20,000 auto manufacturing jobs have been lost in Michigan under Trump, nearly 80,000 were created during the Obama-Biden administration. I've got a long history of not just talking about what I'm going to do, but delivering results for Michiganders. And now we need to do it again. We need to do the hard work.
I will never get used to them being called Michiganders. But yeah, I just posted a link there. There's the TAA. That's a Trade Assistance program that tracks offshoring and that sort of stuff. And yeah, the offshoring of American jobs continued under Trump. I couldn't find an exact $7,000 figure, but that could be per single year. I'd have to go back and see what Biden said about that. But yeah, I mean, companies offshore. That's how it works. Companies have a responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility. That means a monetary responsibility to their stockholders to make as much money as they can. That's the purpose of the companies. And so if the companies can save money by having things built overseas with cheaper labor, that's what they do. That's the GOP right there in a nutshell. That's free enterprise. Dougie, that's funny. The bell is to remind Biden to stay awake. I love that.
To recover, but to build the economy back for the future once more.
Just compare this energy, though, to Trump's speech today. And I mean, it's night and day. By the way, Trump was looking the entire time into the teleprompter directly in front of him. Biden has two teleprompters to the left and to the right, and you'll see that he's really not referring to them all that much.
That's why my Build Back Better agenda. That's what it's all about. It starts right here with you.
5 coughs.
In the union halls all across America. Back in July, I made the first plank of my agenda, a plan to modernize American manufacturing and technology to ensure that the future is made in America.
See, he glances at the teleprompter, goes right back to the middle.
By all of you.
And coughs in his hand.
I'm announcing
there it is!
Steps to make this plank even stronger.
He's not well. Guys, I'm worried about Biden.
First, we're going to impose a tax penalty on companies that avoid paying U.S. taxes by offshoring jobs and manufacturing. only to sell those goods back to the American consumer.
That is actually a good idea and something Trump said he would do and never did. In fact, he gave billions of dollars in tax breaks to those companies.
If your big corporate strategy is to boost your shareholders.
Yeah, Biden has never been sitting in his basement. He's been sitting in his living room. He's been sitting on his patio. Like, I don't know why Republicans are so afraid of basements.
Profits, your CEO's bonuses, by moving jobs out, well, we're going to make sure you not only pay full U.S. taxes on those profits, but we're going to guarantee, we're going to add a 10% offshoring penalty surtax to your bill. No more deductions for writing off expenses for the cost of sending jobs.
Oh, you guys can hear Kevinly Kitty? Yeah, I can too. Well, actually, you guys can probably hear it better than me. Hold on, let me go see if Kevinly Kitty wants to come in.
Overseas, which is a big deal. That could be done here at home by qualified American workers. I'm not looking to punish American business, but there's a better way. Make it in Michigan, make it in America, invest in our communities and the workers in places like Warren. That's what this is about.
Yeah, come on in. Hi, welcome.
UAW workers, steel workers, IBEW workers.
You just want to rub against the door? Okay.
You're the best craftsmen and
women
in the world. And you're right here.
Okay, you do that for a while.
If you're ready to make it in America, then just like there are consequences for offshoring, there'll be rewards and incentives for creating good-paying jobs here at home.
So I can't close the door.
Today, I'm announcing my new American
Made in America tax credit.
A 10% advanceable tax credit for companies that invest in the United States and America.
Yeah, he's been campaigning by television. He's been giving interviews. He went to the DNC, which was in Delaware. He had the big parking lot and Labor Day is kind of the start of the campaign season. But yeah, it's a pandemic. Why is that surprising to anybody? Oh, hey, you're 78 years old. You are kind of vulnerable to this coronavirus thing. You might want to limit your trips. Okay. How is that bad?
Workers to help accelerate the recovery under our Build Back Better agenda.
You're like 78, which means you're probably going to cough into your hand a whole lot. Let's keep you away from other people. Makes sense to me.
So if your company revitalizes a closing facility here in the United States, like the transmission plant
that is an excellent point, Benny. The Trump, I almost said foundation. The Trump Foundation's been banned. It's illegal. Trump can't have foundation. I mean, honestly, are we going to elect a guy for the second time who can't manage a charity? Legally is forbidden from managing a 501c. Are we going to do that? How many people do you know that have been told by the government, by law and order, that they're verboten from being in charge of a charity? How low of an individual do you have to be like, yeah, we've seen what you do with charities, and you can't. You're that terrible a human being.
That got closed last year. We'll take care of 10% of the investment that company makes to reopen it. If you retool a manufacturing facility to make it more competitive, for example, by shifting to help build a new fleet of clean American...
No evidence whatsoever that Biden has ever taken any money from foreign entities. Trump has spent a lifetime of taking money from foreign governments. I mean, that's literally during the 2016 election, he was negotiating, trying to get himself a Trump Tower Moscow. So, I mean, that's on congressional record.
Vehicles made by UAW members. We'll make sure that's more than affordable for you.
Not when I pronounce it, Marcy.
We're going to make sure you'll get a tax credit. If you reshore jobs that have previously been sent overseas, expand your operations in the United States, or increase wages for manufacturing jobs, we'll make it even smarter strategic decision for your company, because we will make sure you get a tax credit. You know, these two steps.
Oh, I've been fact-checked by David Mickelson of Snopes here. Thank you, David. The court did not bar either President Trump or his children from running charities in the state of New York. What happened there then? They were told they had to go to training on running a charity. Am I right there? And again, if I get something wrong, I appreciate it if somebody jumps in and lets us know. David, tell me how I got it wrong, please.
On top of my plans to close each and every one of the top Trump loopholes that he created in 2017 with his tax cut, to reward companies with big tax breaks for offshoring. That's going to end. If you're going to want to build things here in the United States, because under our administration, the Biden-Harris administration, it's going to deliver on the promise to buy American. It's been the law for almost a century, but we've never lived up to it.
It's true.
The idea is simple. Today, the U.S. government spends about $600 billion of taxpayers' money
exactly,
on federal
Dennis.
contracts annually.
You got it.
And that money should go to...
Okay, they had to exalt. This is from David Mickelson with Snopes. They had to dissolve the existing charity and go to an interactive board training session pertaining to charitable organizations. Okay, so are we going to elect a president for the second time who had to dissolve his existing charity? And I think that Trump didn't have to go to the interactive board training session pertaining to charitable organizations, did he? Are we going to do that?
Support American jobs and American businesses. But President Trump has only ever treated it like it was a weak suggestion. Agencies of the federal government can waive the requirements with explanations that Trump doesn't bother to even kick back on. We're going to change that when I'm president. In my first week, I'll sign a series of executive actions to make sure we enforce Buy America and direct the full purchasing power of the federal government to fulfill its promise, starting by closing those waiver loopholes immediately. And I promise you...
Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You might remember me from such interactive videos as, hey, take your hand out of the 7-Eleven charity jar.
I'll use the full power of the Defense Production Act to enforce Buy America.
I miss Phil Hartman. There are days when it just crushes me. Just crushes me.
American and tighten the rules for public infrastructure projects, roads, bridges, canals, airports.
Oh yeah.
Crack down on companies that...
Remember Infrastructure Week? It's 4 years later. What the hell happened with Infrastructure Week?
Label products as made in America, even if they're coming from China or elsewhere. You know, we found out that on Trump's watch, a company selling deployment bags to active duty troops being deployed falsely claimed its product was made in America, when in fact it was really made mostly in China. Trump didn't do anything to respond. I'm not going to let that happen on my watch. We're going to have an office at the White House dedicated to making sure everyone is playing by the same Made in America rules. And one more thing. When I say we're going to use the purchasing power of the federal government to reinvigorate domestic manufacturing, I mean it. We're going to do that with the American automobile industry as well.
That is correct. There was a company that sold to our military a bunch of different products, actually, all labeled made in the USA. They were not made in the USA. They're for active and retired military personnel, sold the products online as made in the USA, inserted American-made tags into their products, and the Federal Trade Commission fined those companies $0 under President Trump. This is from last year, 2019.
The United States government owns and maintains an enormous fleet of vehicles. We're going to convert those government vehicles into electric vehicles, made in America, sourced right here in the United States of America. With the government providing the demand and support to retool factories that are suggesting they're struggling to compete, the United States automobile industry will set up expanding...
Clinton Foundation from Charity Navigator gets an overall score and rating of 89.28. That's actually lower than the last time I looked. It was 92%. Something must have happened. Their financial rating is 84.84%. Those are both good ratings. And their accountability and transparency, this is great. Accountability and transparency from Charity Navigator for the Clinton Foundation, 100%. 100%, Dougie. Look it up. Charity Navigator. Right now, Charity Navigator Clinton Foundation. Go look it up, Dougie.
The capacity in the United States, not China, to lead the world in clean energy vehicles.
100% transparency. Look it up.
I can't wait to get us behind that all-electric Corvette that goes 210 miles an hour. You
yeah.
Think I'm kidding. I mean it. Last year, that converted Corvette set a speed record of 210.2 miles per hour, electric vehicle. So don't tell me we don't still make the best cars right here in the United States of America, and trucks. We're going to make it easy for American consumers to switch to electric vehicles. We're going to build on all the new infrastructure we're going to build on highways. We're going to build a network of 500,000 charging stations across America, providing prevailing wage jobs for the IBW and other craftsmen all across the country. And by offering rebates and incentives to swap older...
So sad that he's falling asleep right now. That's his head on the podium, right? That's what's happening? Is there someone standing behind him propping him up, I'm pretty sure. Is he sitting?
Fuel-efficient vehicles for new, clean, American-made models, saving hundreds of millions of barrels of oil. And together, this will mean, listen to me now, 1 million new jobs in the American automobile industry. 1 million. It's supply chain as well as associated infrastructure. We can do this. We can do this. We can revitalize our industrial base as the heart of the American middle class.
He looks like he's got a lot of energy right now, but wait until he has to go down the ramp when we're done.
Think about the worker in Warren who, when the transmission plant closed, he told a reporter, and I'm quoting him, "Getting a good GM job 20."
This is all I want to see Biden do in the debate. Ah, that old guy. Ah, as opposed to Trump. Give me a break. Just give me a break. There's going to be a lot of that. No puppet. You're the puppet.
Like winning the lottery, he said. I was trying to start a family. I was able to buy a house. I went to Disney World. All that. Think about that.
Okay.
A job that felt like winning a lottery because it opened the door to a life that you wanted for yourself. Because it gave you dignity. Allowed you to provide for your family. Getting a good job.
Oh, he's standing in front of a Bolt. See that? That's a Bolt. That's an electric vehicle. That's actually a really decent car.
In 2020, right here in America, shouldn't be a lottery. It should be an absolute expectation.
Terrible name for a car, by the way, because Chevy already had the Volt, which was a fantastic car that had a combustion engine and got you 40 miles on a battery. So there are people that have a Volt that have just never used the combustion engine. In fact, they've been instructed, hey, go ahead and let that battery run down every once in a while and just let the engine run, because you're supposed to run an engine about once a month or so. But the engine itself gets about 42 miles to the gallon, depending on the model. But anyway, the Bolt's a fantastic car. The trouble is no one's heard of the Bolt, because the Volt, when you hit, you probably can't tell the difference. One's with a V, a super V, and the other one is with a B, as in bull.
For everyone. I don't accept the defeatist view that the forces of automation and globalization mean we can't keep good-paying union jobs here in America and create more of them. I don't buy for 1 second that the vitality of American manufacturing is a thing of the past. We have the most qualified workers in the world. American manufacturing is the old expression you heard your grandpop say, and grandmother, was the arsenal of democracy in World War II. Well, guess what? It's going to be part of...
That Bolt behind him can go 259 miles on a charge. It starts at less than $40,000. So really impressive when compared to a Tesla. It just doesn't look sexy like a Tesla.
The engine of American prosperity now in 2021. And we're going to make it happen with American grit, American determination, and American union workers. Look, folks. That's my promise to you.
That's a brilliant idea. Why, Chuck, why don't they have Usain Bolt advertise the Chevy Bolt? What a perfect idea. Why is that not happening?
And keep in mind, you know, when back in the 30s,
yeah,
they set up
when I was 47
law relating to unions, it said that not you could have a union. It said the government should encourage unions to increase but you're going to have the best, most friendly union president in the history of the United States of America when I'm in the White House. I want to thank you all for all you do. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. We can come back. We can come back stronger than we were before. I want to thank you all. I carry with me, I don't have it, I gave it to my staff, but I carry with me in my pocket do I have that around anyone? Where's my staff? I gave it away anyway. I carry a schedule in my pocket.
Who wants to see my staff?
Every single day, the number of troops lost in Afghanistan and Iraq, the number wounded.
Don't touch his hand.
This is my schedule. In the back of the schedule, there's always a black box. You can't really see it. The press may be able to. It says daily U.S. updates. Troops died in Iraq and Afghanistan. 6,922. Not over 6,000. 6,922. Because every one of those women and men left behind an entire group of people who relied on them. U.S. troops wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan, 53,188. Not over 53,000. U.S. COVID-infected military, U.S. COVID-infected in America, 344,700. U.S. COVID deaths,
6 million.
189,506. Military COVID infected, 118,984. Military COVID deaths, 6,114. Folks, every one of these lives matter. Every one of these lives left somebody behind grieving. We can't ever forget them. Ever forget them. So I thank you all. God bless you. And may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
He's got one heck of a mask there. I like it. Goes all the way above the eyes, pulls down. Why is everyone wearing these masks that can barely get above their noses? Well done, all of us, for making it through this. We have been broadcasting for 2 hours and 30 minutes if you've been with us the whole time. Hey, if you've been watching, thanks for coming along with us. This is the live stream. We broadcast kind of whenever. Today has been a very, very busy news day, and this may be the turning point in the election. Again, if you're just joining us, Trump was caught on tape saying that he lied to the American people. He downplayed the virus, and now we have, I'm not going to tell you how many people over this number, or almost 200,000. Joe Biden just gave us official figures, and as he pointed out, every one of those lives matters. So I think I will leave it with him to tell us the latest official count. Those numbers, though, are lower. Those numbers have been added to today. I'll get you those official numbers. This is coming right out of Johns Hopkins, And I have that. Oh, I can just do it over on this side so you guys can see. Let me get rid of that. I will pull it up right here. I have the Johns Hopkins site ready to go. This is Johns Hopkins. That's 3 times in a row I've gotten it right. Okay, recorded deaths. Here we go. Global United States, 189,972. So yeah, no, he was right on actually. Coronavirus deaths have not been updated on Johns Hopkins. So I am your host, KevinlyFather. I want to say it's been a pleasure being with you here today, and it was actually. I appreciate you guys being here. It helps me get through it. For some reason, the broadcast was frozen for a second. I don't know why. We lost exactly 0 frames during that entire broadcast. So for those techies in the audience, that's much better than we had it yesterday. No idea why. Nothing I'm doing. So thanks for being here. Last comments coming in. Kevin, we're back up here. You're at least 4 weeks behind us. Oh, in Ireland? Is that what's going on? I don't know. Green Room. The Green Room Bar is a bar in Ireland, and he has been one of our producers. So to all of our producers and our Dollar Shame Club and our protesters and our resistors and everybody else who supports me at KevinlyFather.com on Patreon, I truly appreciate it. That's what keeps this going. So KevinlyFather.com if you want to be a patron. If you can't afford to be a patron, $1 a month or $10,000, whatever you can afford. If you can't afford that right now, and I totally understand that, I would appreciate it if you share this broadcast with other people. Tell them about it. Bring them in. If you want to chat along with us, fantastic. If you don't want to chat, that's great too. I appreciate everyone watching. I saw AJ in here earlier. She's one of our mainstays from Nova Scotia or New Brunswick, possibly Labrador, one of the maritime provinces in Canada. She lives in St. John's or St. John. They don't have a lot of names in the Maritimes. AJ actually stands for Angela John. Just about everybody in the Maritimes is named John, and that's why they have so many St. Johns. Yeah, so everybody, we're going to sign off for now. We just hit 2.5 hours of broadcast. So I don't know if we're going to be on later today. Let's see if Trump has announced a conference of some kind. Give me a second here. We'll pull that up. C-SPAN. On the C-SPAN, let's see what's coming up later today. President Trump announces new list of nominees. We saw that. There's a Workers for Trump that Pence is going to. We don't even cover those. It's needless. Sometimes I'll watch them because I'm that much of a news geek. Vice President Biden unveils manufacturing plans in Michigan. We saw that. So I think that might be it for today. Maybe we'll be on later. There's no rallies or anything planned. Trump was probably going to do a phone rally. We haven't covered any of those, but they're just like the rest of the rallies. Good night, Green Room. Good night, John Boy. Yeah, we're taking off. It's I think it's the end of our news day anyway, but there's plenty of other news you can watch on your various channels. OAN is tremendously entertaining, but nobody actually gets OAN. I think it's a private feed for President Trump. Babe says, thanks, Kevin. We'll chat with you all and Kevinly family later. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. I second those motions. So everybody have a great rest of your day on Wednesday. I got a lot of stuff to get done, including, hopefully, I will fix the list of sponsors. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. In the meantime...
Where are you going?
Kevin, is this helpful to Joe Biden?
Wait, what? last